She did thinking she's coming to get a Moorish nationality.
Yeah.
On the spot, like
we're all looking for the sign. Islam, Moors.
Islam.
Let's rise and give our honors.
Yes.
5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth. Peace.
Freedom.
And justice. Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide. And my salvation. By night. And by day. To his holy prophet. No Juali. Islam. Yeah, Shakim, just remind you, there's a mail there, and Tariq dropped them boxes off for you guys.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Okay, yeah, just don't forget, because it's been there. I keep forgetting to tell you to pick it up.
No problem, man. The
A
Rock.
warning from the Prophet to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must put an end to all radical and agitating speeches while on their jobs, homes, or on the public streets. We advocate peace and not destruction. Stop trying out your cards with the Europeans, for it causes confusion. There has been much confusion caused by members trying out their cards. The cards are for your salvation. Failure of obeying my orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members that seek to hold malicious feelings toward the temple or the prophet, or to violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors must obey the laws laid down to them by their prophet, and if they lose confidence in their prophet, give up your card and button, cease wearing your turban or fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. For this is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet is sending out a divine plea to all true Moorish Americans that they may do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Noble Ali. To be proclaimed in every meeting. Islam. I am glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people on our side of the nation that claim it was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, we are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they themselves may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that paid their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I am calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance, and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works, which I have performed in the last few years. Islam. So today we have Back to Basics 16, and we have to start basically addressing the nationality issue on a more broader scale, which means that we have to, take scimitars out and stuff like that now, and start taking heads more than before. Because as we learned from sister that just came in, there's Moors, conscious and unconscious, that's using this time known as the Aquarian Age to keep people in doubt, to keep people blinded of the fact of the nationality and birthrights. So we're going to go down the line today and address anybody, any group, whatever, that considers or presents a position that they're a nation when they're not really they're not really a nation, they can't talk like that, they shouldn't be talking like that, and the fact that they are talking like that lets us know how much of a conspiracy there is to keep the people blinded of the fact that Noble Drew Ali redeemed all these people that are classified as Negro, Black, colored people in 1913. And majority of the stuff is going to be from his literature, but we're also going to request that if there are people who are part of different groups, organizations, from our melanated community that have come to this realization of being a Moor, having a nationality, proclaiming a nationality, declaring it, exercising it, and being successful doing that, that we put, whatever group you came from on the record, and we put all these people on blast for the corruption that they've been running. So we want to start. We'll start first with the colonial powers, right? Please, Mark. If anybody has the dictionary with democracy, could pull that up. Now, we already know, but again, we're just putting this on the record for all the people who, because people are always coming into this information, and we want everybody to be clear from the start as to what's going on. Canada and U.S. have nothing to do with nations, right? Canada and U.S. are private, foreign, dissolved, bankrupt, and insolvent corporations. They do not have anything to do with countries. They have nothing to do with land masses. So when people claim that they are these or connected to these in some kind of way, they're being played. We hear a lot from the leaders in the communities, and mainly the conscious community, that they would say these things. Canada is a place that whatever. The United States is whatever. When people who are supposed to lead people into jurisdictions that have nothing to do with them, more than likely these people are paid off by these people. Whether they're paid off with grants, whether they're paid off with fiat dollars, whether they're paid off with not getting assassinated because they're telling something or whatever like that, right? But we want to make sure that our people don't connect themselves to these things. And if they are connecting themselves to these things, that at all times there's a reservation of rights. Now, again, the so-called leaders in these communities are not going to teach people these perspectives, these maxims, because according to them, so-called law comes from the white man. But they're going to say that they honor Ma'at, which is 2 scales. And they say they're going to honor Hammurabi, which is, law. And they say that they're going to, kill crackers, which is dealing with civics. It's dealing with defense. It's dealing with things relative to law, nationhood, etc. Right? You got democracy there?
Democracy, Black's Law's Dictionary. That form of government in which the sovereign power resides in and is exercised by the whole body of free citizens. As distinguished from a monarchy, aristocracy, or oligarchy. According to the theory of a pure democracy, every citizen should participate directly in the business of governing, and the legislative assembly should comprise the whole people. But the ultimate lodgment of the sovereignty being the distinguishing feature. The introduction of the representative system does not remove a government from this type. However, a government of the latter kind is sometimes specifically described as a representative democracy. The town form or government constitutes pure democracy as distinguished from representative democracy.
Right? So, as we're told, we always make sure that we have multiple dictionaries so we can get different perspectives as to what certain things mean. As when you look at Constitution Act, when you look at the activity that Canada's presenting, this corporate jurisdiction is presenting that this is the democracy from that perspective. But then when you go to the origin of democracy, right, it'll tell you that it comes from demos, right, which has nothing to do with what's written in there, right? So there's it's like Brother Omar always talks about these layers that we have to get around, right? There's all these layers that's been placed in order to keep the people from actually seeing the full picture of what's going on. When we look at the United States of America Republic, and the Republican perspective, we have to acknowledge or realize that everybody who claims to be some type of official in quote-unquote government, they take an oath to uphold this, right? Because we know that Articles of Confederation, Article 11, said that Canada agreed to everything in the Union. So if Canada agreed to everything in the Union, that means that Canada can't say that they're demos if part of everything in the Union is the United States of America Republic Constitution that says that a republican form of government is the government that is supposed to be standard throughout the United States of America, which Canada is part of.
Is that Article of Confederation or is that Constitution Act? I thought that.
Yeah, Article of Confederation.
Our Articles of Confederation?
No, the U.S. Articles of Confederation.
Says that Canada cedes to everything?
Yeah, Canada ceded to everything in the Union. Right? So once individuals start using the terms democracy and not republic, know that they're working at compromising the true nature of what the government's supposed to be, which is republic. If you could check republic too. So we have to eliminate dealing with these. We have to eliminate dealing with these places as their nations and address them as what they are: private, foreign, European, colonial, whatever corporations. And it's not something that smear campaign or whatever, because they admit that they came over here as foreigners. They admit that they came over here from somewhere else and pretty much colonized everything, right? Because they colonized doesn't mean that everything is void as far as our position. on Friday we brought up this book. It's a new book that just came out by Brother Jeremy Samuel, The Moorish Essence of Pensacola. Right? We got a couple there. There's a couple up there. And I just wanted to put something on the record with regard to the occupation or the colonization that happened, and what it is that Noble Drew Ali really did by saying, you know, Moors, you are a nation, even though it was during the period of colonialism. So this is page 10. South of Granada is the downtown historic district called Seville. Much like the Seville of Moorish Spain, it is a hub of art, music, and festivals like the Estevancio International Festival and the Festival of Five Flags. Similar to the Granada residential area, Seville was also historically a quote-unquote black district. In Seville, the oldest neighborhood of Pensacola, Julie Panton owned a cottage as a quote-unquote free woman of color. Panton acquired the cottage for $300. She sold candles and pastries at the cottage. In June of 1809, Julie sold half of lot 65 to Angelica, a quote-unquote free black woman, for $41.50. Julie Panton sold the remaining half to Francisco Cassini, a free mulatto man, for $212. Julie Panton was in the population of quote-unquote free people of color who lived in Pensacola under Spanish occupation. These free people of color conducted business on Palafox Street until the Jim Crow law was implemented and they were forced out. A large segment of Pensacola downtown area consisted of Moorish descendants who built an economic infrastructure that produced prominent quote-unquote black business people. They established banks, building and loan associations, trust companies, pharmacies, insurance companies, schools, grocery stores, etc. They resided in much of the waterfront property along Pensacola Bay, like the Tan Yards, Hawkshaw, and Aragon Court. So these quote-unquote free people of color that had grocery stores, schools, insurance companies, and all this stuff, they were living under Spanish occupation during that time. And under Spanish occupation, they had all these things, right? So when Noble Drew Ali told the Moors that they're a nation, and during that time, he had manufacturing companies and all these things, he's letting us know that our position is not limited because of occupation. Right? We can't look at you know, oh, there's occupiers out there. So because there's occupiers out there, we have to compromise ourselves, and we can't be our full self. Because when we look at other people, you know, Hindus come here, they set up their stuff, they have their little crew over there, and they have their businesses and all that stuff, no problem. What's the issue with us is that we are limited in knowledge of how to exercise to make sure we have these things. We're always having to, you know, take a step back because, you know, we have lack of support from our own. Whereas Chinese support Chinese regardless of whether they're Buddhist, Christian, Muslim, atheists, whatever, they support each other. No questions asked. Chinese guys go into the Chinese store to buy whatever he wants to buy. Right? We had that with the West Indian perspective. We kind of had that, but then even lost that because of, you know, well, Jamaicans don't want to deal with Trinidadians, and then St. Vincent's don't want to deal with these other people over here when all of them are from the same place called quote-unquote Caribbean, and want to know how come we can't get anything done. Because nobody is of a national mindset. Everybody is separated or splintered off and thinking that their quote unquote, lack of a better term, nation is the one that everybody has to be supporting in order for there to be whatever, when it's everybody's position to make an imprint. But you're not going to make an imprint representing some type of tribal perspective. It has to be a unified thought. So the unified thought in Pensacola was that we're Moors, we're Aboriginal indigenous people, right? When you go through the book, you realize why it's called the Moorish essence of Pensacola. And the things that he's presenting in the book is stuff that, like, you had to live there to know, and then to also put it out there, right? In the perspective that he's putting it out, so especially Moors could realize how much of an impact this history of quote-unquote Moors has in the jurisdiction of the Americas, right? You got Republic?
Republic, a commonwealth, that a form of government in which the administration of affairs is open to all citizens. In another sense, it signifies a state independently of its form of government. And then it says Republican government, which I thought I might as well read that one as well.
Yeah.
Republican government, a government in Republican form, a government of the people, a government by representatives chosen by the people.
Right? So, Moorish Science Temple of America is Republican. The concept of the Moorish Science Temple of America, when people say that, Moorish Science Temple of America is a government. If that's their claim, then it's Republican, and they can't pretend like Grand Sheik is the head, Grand Governor is the head, Grand Secretary is the head, Grand Treasury is the head. They're the adepts and they know what's going on. And all these people out here, they don't have any say unless the people up here say what it is. The real say comes from out there. As far as Moorish Science Temple, Moorish Divine National Movement, Moorish Holy Temple of Science, Old Canaanite Temple, all these perspectives that Noble Drew Ali brought was for us to be able to govern ourselves. Told Moors, if you're going to do business, do it in your free national name and put it in either his name or put it in the temple's name. That way shows unity. If everybody's business is called Moorish Science Temple of America, regardless of what their business is, that's unity. That's solidifying the perspective of nationhood amongst those people that are members of quote-unquote that nation. So when they're saying republic by the people, but then people don't realize that when they say I'm gonna go vote and then they vote and then somebody gets elected, it's because of the people why that person's in power, not because they went out and they had a good campaign and everybody agreed, yeah, let's follow that guy or whatever. It's because the people took their quote-unquote sovereign power and vested it in this individual to do whatever that he can do, she can do for them. But then when you go to democracy now, they adopt that. Right? They adopt the democracy definition when it was really a republic that was set up initially. And all these individuals from Garveyite, Rastafarian, NOI, NGE, whoever, all of them know about Oscar the Priest, who was quote-unquote first black congressman of Chicago, that wrote numerous articles about making sure that the people have Constitution as a mindset, regardless of what they belong to. Whether they're Christian and all that stuff doesn't matter. Everybody should have a copy of Constitution on them. Everybody should know what the Constitution is made up of. Everybody should have at least, even if it's a little bit, they should at least have a little bit of knowledge of the Constitution and what it is made up of. Because that's what is supposed to be enforced according to Noble Drew Ali, who is the forerunner of all these so-called groups out here. There's nobody that should be getting more praise than him. Because everything that we see out there today came after him from, again, as we go down the list, which we're going to go down the list, right? We want to stress the fact that if you have treason too, we want to stress the fact that as soon as people start violating the law that's laid down, whether it's the supreme law of the land, Constitution, whether it's universal law, whether it's natural law, those individuals are treasonous. And they have to be treated accordingly. Due to the fact that we don't have our own firing squad and stuff like that, we can't really deal with it accordingly. So the most we can do is point out these individuals that are causing this confusion so that the people, once again, the people can use their sovereign power correctly. If all these people took their sovereign power and put it in the right direction, we wouldn't be having issues of people getting shot up and stuff like that right now. We're having the issues because people take their sovereign power and they give it to other people thinking that, oh yeah, those guys are going to do whatever, and then we can just sit over here and we'll just wait until, they do something with the sovereign power. When, if the people aren't wielding the sovereign power, then the sovereign power is guaranteed going to be used against the people who gave it up, which is what's going on right now, right? Treason.
Treason. The offense of attempting by covert acts to overthrow the government of the state to which the offender owes allegiance, or of betraying the state into the hands of a foreign power. And then it gives you a Webster's breakdown. Treason consists of two elements: adherence to the enemy and rendering him aid and comfort. In England, treason is an offense particularly directed against the person of a sovereign and consists in compassing or imaging the death of the king or queen or their eldest son or heir, in violating the king's companion or the king's eldest daughter unmarried or the wives of the king's eldest son or heir, in levying war against the king in his realm, in adhering to the king's enemies in his realm, giving to them aid and comfort in the realm or elsewhere, and slaying the chancellor, treasurer, or the king's justices of the one bench or of other justices in Erie of justices of assize, and all other justices assigned to hear or determine being their places doing their offices. And then it gives you a United States definition. Treason against the United States shall consist only in levying war against them or adhering to their enemies, giving them aid or comfort.
So, being that we can look at Noble Drew Ali as a founding father, right? We can look at Noble Drew Ali as the chief judge. We can look at Noble Drew Ali as the president, prime minister, head of the Moorish divine and national movement. The individuals who assisted in his assassination are treasonous. The people who protected those people, that they're still around today protecting them, right? Saying that, don't worry about Noble Drew Ali, worry about this guy because he says he's a reincarnated prophet, so Noble Drew Ali's in his body now. Those guys are treasonous. The people who deny Noble Drew Ali, I heard people like Shaka Amos talking about Noble Drew Ali was just a black man, came for his time and all that stuff, and that's it. He doesn't have no type of value today because he came from a time when he was needed, and after that time we don't need him no more. Those people are treasonous. Anybody continue to call these people Negro, black, colored, or whatever like that, they're treasonous. Anybody saying that Constitution comes from the white man and they don't need to follow it, those guys are treasonous, right? Because All these things were things that were laid down by Noble Drew Ali to assist us to not be in the situation that we're in right now, complaining about, marching about, picking about, thinking that, somebody really cares that, you violated what was laid down, right? We want to make sure that we address the treason, right? So the first place we'll go is with the forerunner, and people classified as Garveyites. If you're a Garveyite, then there has to be a place called Garvey somewhere. There has to be a place called that. Somebody can't claim to be a Garveyite when there's no place called Garvey. Now, we know, according to Noble Drew Ali, in the end of time and fulfilling of prophecy, that in these modern days, there came a forerunner that was divinely prepared by the great God Allah. And his name is Marcus Garvey, who did teach and warn the nations of the earth to prepare to meet the coming prophet, who was to bring the true and divine creed of Islam, and his name is Noble Drew Ali, who was prepared and sent to this earth by Allah to teach the old-time religion and the everlasting gospel to the sons of men, that every nation shall and must worship under their own vine and fig tree, and return to their own and be one with their Father God Allah. We also know that Marcus Garvey was visited by Noble Drew Ali before he got deported. There's only one individual, who followed the program, Carlos Cooks. And when he was the head of the so-called African Legion, which was the Mufti force for the UNIA, everybody in the African Legion wore fezzes. Black fezzes too. Why? Because Carlos Cooks recognized that you can't claim to be a nation without having national things connected to it. The world knows that the fez is a national headwear. Some people say it's religious. Some people say, the treasonous say, it's bucket hat and stuff like that. Right? The treasonous have their own perspective of what this is. But the world knows that this headwear represents a nation of people. When we look at, again, fake nations like Turkey, fraudulent corporate jurisdictions that took it upon themselves to ban the fez in their country. Yeah, in their early days, right? And a lot of them, the so-called the pale Moors that the black power people always try to tie us to, that we got our stuff from them. Their position at one time was to make sure that the policies of the Inquisition stay in place, so that these people don't know anything about their culture. Make sure that these people know nothing about their culture. And then you had one or two individuals who became martyrs because they were like, you guys not good. You guys can't stop this. There's no way that you can stop this, because this is subordinate to many places. So the subordinates don't have superior claim to say you can't do something or whatever. Yeah, they might have, did certain things to intimidate people from adhering to the culture. But don't be fooled in thinking that, because some of them have it today, that they were always down with it from the start. Right? So they know that this is a national headwear. And the only way that Garveyites can represent this properly is if they follow what Carlos Cooks did and made sure everybody had fez. Because Garveyites are Moors. Garveyites aren't Garveyites. Garveyite is a pseudonym. Universal Negro Improvement Association. It's a pseudonym. Because if you ask them, they'll tell you that they're descendants of Africa. They'll tell you that their ancestry goes back to a quote-unquote landmass. But you can't say that you're African and say that you're Garveyite and say that you're a member of the UNIA and then don't have any type of national representation. The fact of the fez being reintroduced by Carlos Cooks, and that when you bring up Carlos Cooks' names, Garveyites don't even know who he is. They have no idea who he is. You bring up Marcus Garvey, they know him, but they don't know Noble Drew Ali, went to visit him in prison and all that stuff. They got articles about it, they got postcards and stuff about it, but it's not something that's mentioned. So there's no so-called Garveyites. As far as UNIA members, group stuff, oh yeah, there's Garveyites. But don't let these people fool you in talking about, oh yeah, they're for nations or whatever. As soon as they start talking nationhood, shut them down immediately. That you guys are not a nation. You can't claim to be a nation. Because first question is, where are these guys' fezzes at? Because Carlos Cook brought back the fezzes. Carlos Cook resurrected the fezzes for these people. And then Marcus Garvey was visited by Noble Drew Ali. And in his letter to the Garveyites, before he got deported, told them the only way the Negro is going to be happy is if he has a nationality. And then that's in Marcus Garvey's book that everybody has on their bookshelf if they're a Garveyite, Philosophies and Opinions. And they never go there. They never go to the page that says that when Marcus Garvey was going to court, that he was listed as plaintiff in error, just like Dred Scott. They will not go there. Why? Because they don't talk civics. They don't know civics. They think that Constitution is some white man stuff that has nothing to do with them. When they need to stop playing games, wake up and realize that there ain't no white man doing nothing. Only from the perspective of law is the white man doing something, meaning them doing it to themselves because they're really the white man. And it ain't no European that's causing them stuff that they did. There ain't no European that messed it up for so-called Garveyites. Those Garveyites that messed up their own stuff. They're their own reason why they suffer. Because Moore's been telling them that, Garvey, no, that's not a real article. And yeah, well, Chicago Defender is like a real newspaper. They've been around since the 1920s. What are you talking about? It's not real. Like, how is it not real? They got documented facts that Chicago Defender is a real newspaper. No, Moore's made that up because he's trying to tie Garveyites to Moore. Okay, you guys stay stateless then. And know that when it's time, because in Noble Drew Ali said that when the wheels of industry stop and start back again, it's going to be in the Moors' favor. When the wheels of industry start back up again, because right now, you know that since the bankruptcy, 33, wheels of industry stopped. Don't let stuff going on out there fool you that there's stuff going on. Ain't nothing going on out there. Out there is just dead silence. There's an appearance of stuff going on, but nothing's really going on. When it starts back up again, and the Moors are in power, we're going to realize then how, you know how these black guys talk? The Moors put black people in slavery. You'll find out why your ass got put in slavery the first time. When the wheels start going again and the Moors are back in power.
Indeed.
You're going to realize then why.
Nationality.
Because you're stateless and you choose to be stateless. And the people in power, once again, if you go all across the world, there's nobody, when they get back in power, do they play games with people who are treasonous.
Just dawned on me, just based on what you said regarding when I think it was Washington went to the Sultan and asked for aid to help develop the land and so on and so forth, and the Sultan said, well, just take the people who were there doing nothing, who were just laying about, not contributing to society. So it just dawned on me, as you said, that those were the people who pretty much gave up their nationality, being of that color. He wasn't saying take the Moors and enslave them. Saying no, just take the people who are not being productive.
Yeah, and the activity of the idea of passivity is what allows them to be in servitude. Because only somebody passive would stay there and let it push chains on me and then lead me to the boat and all that stuff. Only somebody passive is going to sit there and do that. True. And then remember, we were just talking about in the book that you had these free people of color in Florida, which is South, which is lynch town and stuff like that. They had their own town grocery stores and stuff. How come nobody wasn't lynching them?
So obviously there was a line.
No different than Django. When they're, going through the town or whatever like that, just released, and him and the German are trying to find his suit or whatever, and he's looking out the window and there's all these Negroes walking back and forth, some of them in shackles, some of them are free, some of them on a horse or whatever, some of them are, right? Peace. Yeah. Yeah, 2533. Yeah, you're there. Right? It's all good pieces. Right, so these quote unquote free people of color, right? The free people of color were obviously in a different jurisdiction than everybody else. Right? The free people of color were not in the same boat as the ones that were complaining about slavery and subjugation and all these other things, right? As we continue to wake people up, as people continue to get this mindset, right? Recognize that some of those people, or some of these people that are waking up, they're going to take the position of starting to challenge some of these individuals that's been enslaving them, not telling them about their nationality, right? Especially the younger generations who are of a different frequency.
Yeah, because you notice they're not into church.
They're not into church and they're not into certain things that we sat through. Like, this is boring, why am I sitting here and all this type of stuff. They're straight telling them, I ain't going. I'm not going. Yeah, well, Jesus, cool, no worries. I'm going to deal with Jesus when I But I'm not going. Forget that. Right? Okay? Because there's something that's in the atmosphere. You know what I mean? That's changing the frequency. Right? So, like we were saying, there's when you look at Django movie and you see that there was this line, right, that he himself didn't cross, and people didn't even try to pull him over. There wasn't people going around trying to denationalize him in the movie, make him a slave or whatever. Once he was free, that was it. He was free. Nobody wasn't bothering him. But all the slaves were like, damn, how's he able to ride a horse? And how's he able to get away with all this stuff that he's doing? How come he could just take this? He just took the whip from the slave master and whipped him, shot him or whatever like that? Because free people have a different status that allows them to do a little bit more than the average Negro could do. No different than when you hear so-called black guys who challenge Moors and they'll talk about, well, show me some court case that you did. Show me a cracker that you killed. You can't show me a cracker that you killed, but I don't have to show you a court case that I want. Even though we got ample amounts of Moors who's been to court, beat up cases, beat up whatever it is, we got enough Moors that we can show. Alright? So we know that the so-called Garveyites, they're not no nation. Alright? Alright? Rastafarians. Now, once again, if your claim right? Somebody says they're Bahamian because there's a place called right? Somebody says that there's which is really supposed to be not EAN but Caribbean.
True.
Because there's Caribs. Caribs have a landmass that they are tied to. But there's no place called Rastafari in the world. There's no place called that. And even the place that they're trying to tie themselves to, that they say is Ethiopia, the emperor of that place he's really the emperor of Abyssinia. But again, it comes back to civics, because if they check the record, they'll realize that when he went to the League of Nations, he went as the emperor of Abyssinia, not the emperor of Ethiopia. Even though Ethiopia is an ancient word, and it goes way back to even quote-unquote Africa being called Ethiopia at one time, the people weren't Ethiopian, because Noble Juali came and told the people that this word Ethiopia means a demarcation line. Has nothing to do with a people. Right? Now, the Abyssinians are really Nubians, Cushites, right? Kemetans. And these people never claim none of this. These people are the first ones to say that Pharaoh is the devil and stuff like that. Pharaoh did all this evil stuff. We have no connection to Pharaoh and we have no connection to Egypt. We're going to tie ourselves to Ethiopia, which means to be divided. Which means that they have no unity. That's why in these guys' stuff, you got 12 tribes. Then you got the group over here. They say Boho Shanti, and then they get to wrap their hair, and then they condemn anybody who has their locks out. Right? Because the separation comes from not being tied to a nation. And there's no nation called Rastafari. And if they're going to say that their God or their head is Haile Selassie, then they should call themselves Haile Selassians. why are they calling themselves the name of him before he came to his status as emperor? Which means that as this, they have no claim. That's why they'll have people tell them, take off your turban and stuff like that. You're not really whatever. But then on the other hand, they don't realize how much of a national position they have that they're not taking by claiming this. Because if you talk to some Punjabis respect Rastafarians. Because in the Punjabi culture, it's a custom to wear a turban. When you wake up in the morning till you go to bed at night, you have a turban. And you got cloth going all the way down there. And you wrap your head and make sure that your hair doesn't see outside, because it's a national custom to wear a turban. There's Rastafarians who I know that they agree that we don't have our stuff together as Rastafarians. There's Rastafarians who I know who have Circle 7 Quran. There's Rastafarians who I know who wrote writs when credit whoever tried to come at them, paid debts and all that stuff. They said, forget all that. Write a writ, free national name. They still got their turban on and all that stuff. They still say Haile Selassie, I jar Rastafari, bun weed and all that stuff, but they know that they're Moors. They know that they're tied to a nation. They're not dissing the nation. They're not dissing Noble Drew Ali to uplift Haile Selassie. They recognize that Haile Selassie is emperor, and emperor is the head of an empire. But what empire is he head of? Ethiopian Empire? No. The Comedian, Nubian, Kushite, the Abyssinian Empire? No. He's a representative of the Moorish Empire. That's why he married Empress Menen, who was a descendant of Prophet Muhammad. So you have this individual that married a descendant of Prophet Muhammad, but then these individuals who say that they honor him, they're not paying any attention to the fact that their head individual loves Muslims so much that he married one and made her his empress and shattered the whole custom of Ethiopian Orthodox or whatever, and got coronated with her on the same day as him, when she's supposed to be coronated, quote unquote, 7 days after him. Right? This is in the culture. But they're going to deny all that. They're going to deny the fact that the quote unquote Moorish Jews of Harlem got invited personally by Haile Selassie to not attend, be part of the coronation in 1930. Be part of it. Not come on down and check out the stuff. Not the Israel Jews. The Jews in Harlem, who they got a big sign that says Moorish Temple. And they're going to deny their own birthright and then get mad at other people. And then they're going to put up walls and say, oh yeah, Europeans can't be part of this because, this is for black people only. Well, Europeans are black people. If you get an etymology, because, black means pale. So what's the issue? What's the problem with not letting Europeans be Rastafarian if they're the real black people?
It's just like with Diana, what she was gonna do. She was gonna marry to some.
Yeah, she was good. She was breaking the.
So baby.
Yeah.
She was gonna bring. she was going to bring the melanin back into the family, the royal family.
She did. Did she have a baby?
No, they killed her.
Yeah, they killed her before. I think the baby died too, because she was pregnant at the time.
Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense.
Right?
She knew what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
That's why they did.
How? I'm missing something. How is she gonna bring melanin from where?
Because she was marrying, she was going to marry a Melanite. She was going to marry a Moor.
Oh, yeah.
But remember that in the history of Europe, Queen Charlotte was Moor. Then they once they breeded out the Moors, then they said, you guys are no longer going to be called Moors anymore. Don't call them blackamoors. Just go Google the letter that first Queen Elizabeth wrote, saying that we are not going to call these people blackamoors anymore. Mm-hmm. We're going to start calling them everything else except Moors. Mm-hmm. And then, and remember, Diana was like Michael Jackson. The world loved her.
Yeah.
There was no discrimination. Oh, she's a European, we don't like her, and whatever like that. Everybody loved her.
Philanthropist.
Right? She was humanitarian. Right? She was dealing with things from a Rotarian perspective. Same thing that Noble Drew Ali taught all these people. That, if you're going to say that you're Moor and you're tied to Moorish movement, then your duty is to be humanitarian. That's why you can't charge 6,000. Because this is a humanitarian thing. This is not our people are dumb, so that means we can sell stuff and anything that you sell. Oh well, it's not really selling because I said donation. Well, how come you didn't donate everything that you got to the temple? Like, why is it going in pockets and Gucci shoes and trips to Jamaica and stuff like that? Right? So the Rastafarians, those guys are treasonous. Because they need to recognize that the Triple Crown is a fez. And when you check the line of all the emperors, all of them had some type of headwear that didn't have a brim on it, right? And it had some little thing on the top, whether it was a ball, they had stuff like this on it, whatever. It represented the quote-unquote the sovereign. And then the Rastafarians are going to call Haile Selassie and Empress Menen the Black Ark Sovereigns. The book's right up there.
Okay. It's there.
Right? Right here. Mothers of Salem. Salem, mothers of Salem, and daughters of Zion. Questions? Comments?
Break down sovereign and nationality. People who don't know the difference.
You got nationality. Actually, if you could check the other dictionary as well for sovereign
So people confuse
and
the
nation.
with the lands.
Yeah. Actually, just that you bring that up, you have we got an email from somebody about, what the hell is it? We got an email from somebody about a Moorish science temple. A Moorish science temple classifying Moors who use RV Bay publications as a base of study, that They're part of the sovereign citizen movement. This is recent,
It's crazy.
right? Now, for everybody who hasn't checked the record, make sure you go check the record, and also make sure you check the upload date of the class that we did called Fraud Knows Fraud Best. We are not sovereign citizens. So you can know that these people are clearly treasonous. If they're in the Moorish Science Temple of America and they're talking about Moors who exercise their right and stand on their birthright and challenge highwaymen, magistrates, corporations trying to escheat and embezzle and all that stuff, saying that we're sovereign citizens, right? When there's no such thing as a quote-unquote sovereign citizen. Because if a citizen is sovereign, he's only sovereign because he's attached to a nation. There's no such thing as a citizen sovereign, but nobody's not mentioning where the sovereignty is coming from. Nobody could be a sovereign citizen without mentioning where the sovereignty comes from. So, for example, we talked about this on Friday. In the chapter,
You could use like sovereign national.
No.
No?
even that, what national of what?
You have to understand what sovereignty is. Sovereignty is just not a word that you just use. Sovereignty is more or less an act. It's not something that you say, okay, I'm sovereign. Like, everyone around you has to be sovereign as well, too. And it's a mindset. It's not just a word. It's a mindset. It's what you do and who you are. So it's just, you could say it, but is everyone around you it?
Saying and being, it's like two different
Two
things.
different
Right.
things.
And nationality comes before sovereignty.
Right.
Yeah.
So when they say, when they do their little news stuff and, oh yeah, a sovereign citizen tried to do something or whatever like that, right?
Right?
They're really, messing with people's head.
Yeah.
Because there's no such thing as a sovereign citizen, right? There are citizens who exercise sovereignty.
Yes.
That's being sovereign.
Yes.
Based on what nation.
There's citizens that are nationals
Yes.
that are using sovereignty of a nation, but there's no such thing as a sovereign citizen. Saying sovereign citizen means that there's a nation called sovereign. That's like Moorish national. Okay, well, Moor is the nation. And then that individual is a national of that nation. Okay, saying sovereign citizen means that there's a nation called sovereign. There's some geographical location on the map that says sovereign on it. And then you're a citizen of that.
Yeah. And
When that's a fiction. That's a fraud. And anybody who's talking from that perspective, clearly they're against what Noble Dwali laid down, especially if they say that they're Moorish Science Temple of America, they got fezzes on, and then they're going to say that, well, those Moors over there, they're acting like sovereign citizens. Well, according to magistrate and subject, the favorite of heaven, whom the Son of Man thy equals, agreed to raise to sovereign power. So the sovereignty that so-called grand sheiks, grand governors, whoever are exercising, the same thing that we're saying from the beginning. The sovereignty comes from the people who they're the nationals. They're the ones that are part of the nation. They're the ones that are the manifestation of sovereignty. And they're taking what they've manifested, being nationals, and they're giving it to this one individual to say, okay, you know what? All of us can't exercise our sovereignty. So we're electing you as a representative to exercise sovereignty on our behalf. Which is why Brother Tesba Asarbe, the grand chairman, told the people at the last town hall meeting, don't look at us to call no more town hall meetings. Because it's not our duty to call. We're not the sovereigns. The people have to call the town hall meeting. And if they don't call it, clearly they don't want to exercise their sovereignty. So if that's the case, then we're just going to be over here doing what we do to try to assist the best that we can to let these people have their sovereignty until it clicks in their head that they're the ones that are really in charge of the Moorish movement. It's not the people who call themselves grand whatever. All right? You got
Sovereign?
Yeah.
Sovereign. For sense, the chief of a state in a monarchy, a king or queen. 2. A British gold coin worth £1. Adjective, also a poetic sovereign. Paramount supreme. Beneath the sovereign brightness of the sky. Having a supreme rank or power. Self-governing. Independent. This is number 4. Of a superlative strength or efficacy of a sovereign remedy. Unmitigated sovereign contempt. Sovereign.
Law dictionary.
For
Sovereign. You have sovereign.
I got sovereign. I got sovereign national citizen.
All right.
So the sovereign and the sovereignty. So sovereign, a person, body, or state in which independent or supreme authority is vested. A chief ruler with supreme power. A king or other ruler with limited power. In English law, a gold coin of Great Britain of the value of £1 sterling.
And then there was the other thing that you had, sovereign.
Sovereignty.
Sovereignty.
So sovereignty, the supreme, absolute, and uncontrollable power by which any independent state is governed. Supreme political authority, paramount control of the constitution and frame of government and its administration, the self-sufficient source of political power from which all specific political powers are derived. The international independence of a state combined with the right of power of regulating its internal affairs without foreign dictation. Also, political society or state which is sovereign and independent. The power to do everything in a state without accountability, to make laws, to execute, to apply them, to impose and collect taxes, and levy contributions, to make war or peace, to form treaties of alliance or of commerce with foreign nations and the like. With that definition, it's impossible to be a sovereign
To be a sovereign citizen.
That's not possible.
It's not even possible.
How could you even do that by yourself?
By yourself.
Yeah, it makes no
The
sense.
individual can't do that by themselves. Right? And then remember too, also too, it said in there, make laws.
Exactly.
The divine constitution and bylaws for the Moorish Science Temple of America is a Grand Street chairman empowered to make law and enforce law. Doesn't that mean that sovereignty exists in the Moorish Science Temple? So how are these people going to say that certain people are acting like sovereigns like they're not, when they're saying that they represent this flag, they represent this headwear, they represent this card that says, we are nationals, but sovereignty doesn't have anything to do with them? Clearly those people are treasonous. And again, if we're talking about individuals that are treasonous, go ask China, India, wherever else, what they do to people who are committing treason. Even go to Europe and ask them what they do to people who commit treason. And then we have to ask ourselves, how come these treasonous people are still around today? Why are they still here? Why are they still talking big like they have some type of authority? When all authority that heads of the Moorish movement have, they only have it because the people vested in us, the heads, their sovereignty. And it's not even like the people are given all their sovereignty. They just give us a little sliver of sovereignty so we can go out and do some stuff on their behalf. Because it would be overwhelming for all the Moors to walk into the mayor's office. It would be overwhelming for all the Moors to walk into the chief of police office. It would be overwhelming for all the Moors. One Moor has court and all the Moors go, let's all go to court because this Moor has court. So they say, we'll give these individuals the power so they can do it on our behalf. Right? And the individuals who have the power, when they go and do it on behalf, they're supposed to come back to the people with what went down. Not just go to the meeting and then, so they said that we can ABCD and then that's it. And they don't come back and relay what was just given, what authority was, right? Okay? Right? We just have to call them NOI. Because they call themselves NOI. Why they call themselves NOI? Because they're not a nation. As soon as they say nation of Islam, but then if they're a nation of Islam, then everybody who's part of Islam should be part of this. If they're saying we are the nation of Islam, then everybody who's Islamic should be a member of this. Because nobody else that's Islam says that Islam's a nation. These are the only people that say that Islam is a nation. Nobody else speaks from that perspective. But then when you go ask these people, these members, are they a nation? You know, that, oh yeah, we're a nation and all that stuff. Okay, so where's your nation? Where's your Islamic nation? Where's that jurisdiction that qualifies you to be quote unquote a nation? You got a nation there? Yeah. I can check that too. Because there's a lot of fraud going on with this word, nation. Everybody's throwing this word around, right? Under the guise that, just like sovereignty, they can just throw this word around. Oh yeah, we're a black nation. Oh, we're an African nation. And nobody identifies the nation. The only people that identify a nation is Moors. Nobody else identifies the nation. Because if you ask somebody from the Congo, they're not going to say African nation. Somebody from Sudan is not going to say African nation. Somebody from Zimbabwe is not going to say African nation. Sierra Leone, African nation. They're identifying the geographical location that qualifies them to be a nation. And an individual can't just say, we're a nation. They can do that, you know, with people who have no knowledge and get away with it. Because the people with no knowledge are just going to go with the fact that, oh, they said they're a nation. Yeah, they got a building out there. All of them dressed the same, so I guess they're a nation. But when you really question them to qualify that position that they're taking, that they're a nation, you know, then they want to go off over here and start talking about stuff that has nothing to do with the question I asked you, what nation are you a part of? And if you are an Islamic nation, how come everybody who's Muslim that I talk to, they look at people who claim to be Nation of Islam as renegade Islam? They don't look at them as pure, true Islam or whatever. They look at them as some outside branch of Islam that, you know, black guys who don't have a religion tie themselves to this. Nation.
Nation. A people or aggregation of men existing in the form of an organized rural society, usually inhabiting a distinct portion of the earth, speaking the same language, using the same customs, possessing historic continuity, and distinguished from other like groups by their racial origin and characteristics, and generally, but not necessarily, living under the same government and sovereignty.
There's that S word again.
That's going into my thing.
Right?
Historic continuity.
Yeah, that's
Historic
too.
continuity. Right, we're talking about historic continuity. Right? If NOI started in 1930, right? But there's been activity since 1913 relative to the founders of this, then this is not historic continuity. Because this gap right here, between 1930 and 1913, that shuts off the continuity part. Yeah, it's historic because it's been around since 1930. They put some time in. But is it continuous? No, it's not continuous. Now, when you see early Nation of Islam and they got fezzes on, right, just like this. When you go check the FBI papers of the NOI, you find out that individuals in this that were wearing fezzes were selling nationality cards. These are the FBI papers of these guys. That they were selling nationality cards. Not membership cards to the Nation of Islam. The Nation of Islam was selling nationality cards. And then when you check the NY records in the FBI, it always goes back to Moorish Science Temple of America. Always. But then when you look at King Alfred plan, and they talk about the infiltrated organizations, Moorish Science Temple of America is not on the list. So you have to ask the question now, well, if they have FBI papers on the Moorish Science Temple of America, and that the FBI infiltrated the Moorish Science Temple of America, and the FBI infiltrated the NOI, FBI infiltrated UNIA, FBI infiltrated NAACP, FBI infiltrated all these so-called organizations that have anything to do with so-called black people getting liberation. But then when you check King Alfred plan, which is the document put out by U.S. Corporation to show that there's infiltration, and Moorish Science Temple's not on the list, somebody's not putting everything out. And then why would they leave Moorish Science Temple off the list when they were infiltrated? Because if the people find out that they know about, FBI knew about this since this time, then they might give this a little bit more attention, because we never heard about that before. It's 1930. They're talking about NOI. 1913, you have Moorish Science Temple, Moorish Divine National Movement, etc. And then 2016, all people know about is this. They don't know about anything else before 1930. And the only thing they know about before 1930 is UNIA. And then remember, we already talked about the connection between UNIA and Moorish Science Temple of America. So nobody can really hide that they don't know. Especially the people who are heads. They can't pretend like they don't know what this is. Because everybody knows that everybody that's ahead in any of these organizations, they know that there were these people during the 1900s that were walking around the Americas that had fezzes on, that had turbans on, that were talking about enforcing the Constitution, that were talking about why wouldn't we enforce the Constitution? The Moors were the ones who taught these Europeans when they were in Spain. Why is this not known to everybody just like they know about all the other stuff? And the fact that people don't know about it, when they find out about it, they don't even think, hey, let me go check that out or whatever. They just say, oh no, that's some Mason thing or whatever, I don't have nothing to do with that, and then they go in other direction. And they don't even want to know about what this is. Right? And keep in mind that all these individuals, yeah, they might have had information, yeah, they might have assisted in getting our people to have some type of enlightenment, but all these people are treasonous. And they're trying to save face. That's why Farrakhan came out with the Savior's Day and then put Noble Drew Ali. First time ever, Noble Drew Ali's on the poster for Savior's Day. That was like last year or 2 years ago. First time ever. They've been around since 1930. First time ever, they're gonna mention Noble Drew Ali, and then he's gonna talk, Noble Drew Ali and all that stuff, and he was a great man and all that stuff. All of a sudden, but he's not gonna say that I'm a member of Moorish Science Temple and I have a nationality card in my pocket from Bratton Bay's Moorish Science Temple in Baltimore. But he's gonna talk about Noble Drew Ali and the Moors were great and all that stuff. But he's not gonna say that I'm a member. I have a nationality card in my pocket. That's how I got back into the country when I went to Libya to go meet Gaddafi to get the $5 million to start the hair care business that ain't nobody showing nobody where's the $5 million at that he got from Gaddafi. Because he did get the money. It's a fact that he got the money. But they no show. Nobody can't. Nobody knows where the $5 million went that he got from Gaddafi. And then nobody can't question Gaddafi because Gaddafi's not here no more. So it just becomes historic
Continuity.
uncontinuity.
It's like a social experiment with what you mentioned there. How we put up for the first time in so many years. He put up a poster with Noble Drew Ali.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a social experiment to see how dumb the people are.
Yeah.
But he was also being quite deceitful because when he was reading the words about Noble Drew Ali, he left out the specific portion where Noble Drew Ali said, "You people are from Missouri."
Yeah.
So he was reading Noble Drew Ali's words, and then he just skipped it out. Said, "You were from Missouri," because then everybody would be like, "Hold on a second, what do you mean we're from Missouri?"
Missouri,
He said we're not from. Yeah, he said you're from Missouri, Mississippi. So then if he would have said that, people would have been like, "Hold on a second, so we're not from Africa. We're from here," and then it would have destroyed the whole NOI platform.
The whole thing.
But he conveniently left it out.
Left it out for a reason.
Conveniently left it out.
Right? And also, when they were doing the whole justice or else, and he wants 10,000 people, you know what I mean? And then people were getting mad at him because he's saying that he wants 10,000 people to go kill Europeans and all that stuff, and he's defending himself. Nah, I didn't say that or whatever like that. That's not what I meant. NOI can't even carry guns. We're taught not even to carry a pocket knife. That's Noble Drew Ali's teaching. Noble Drew Ali's the one that told all these Moors, don't even carry a pocket knife. But he's not going to go there and say that, we're quoting from Noble Drew Ali right now. He's just going to put out blanket statements because, he knows that the people don't know. They don't read Noble Drew Ali stuff, so he could be quoting Noble Drew Ali left, right, and center.
And they would never know.
And people would never know. They just think that's some wise stuff that Farrakhan said when he's quoting Noble Drew Ali. Right?
You just skip the part you don't want me to.
Yes.
Say,
Because once the people realize that they are a nation, not only that they are a nation, but all they have to do for themselves is proclaim it. Not only that all they have to do for themselves is proclaim it, but all these people that were called heads of whatever since 1930 knew about this, and they chose not to tell people. Either, they're not for their people, and or they got paid to be not for their people by the other side, whose job it is to keep the people in this bubble of blackness that gets them nowhere. This bubble of Africanness.
That's why I look at the King Alfred plan too when I analyzed it. Right, it's like the Moors now. We're formidable. What do they say? Formidable enemy. We're bound to the continent.
Yeah, formidable. Yeah,
enemy because we're bound to the continent.
Bound to the continent by heritage.
And why now? They're a nation, but yeah, what are they? Can they prevent an outbreak of a national? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Emergency, but they can't.
Right.
Because they're not.
And in the case of the Moors, because the black guys, the Moors can't prevent nothing either. Well, the Moors aren't even involved in nothing with no national emergency. We have no time for no national emergency, nothing going on. That has nothing to do with us. Our thing is getting our people to realize that they've been blinded there's been something put in front of them to make them not see really what's going on. And they have to be, you know, brought into the marvelous light so they can see, because they're in darkness right now. And Drew Ali's position was to bring our people into light so that we can see, because we're blind right now. Blind to facts, blind to truth, blind to reality, and everything that our people deal with is illusion. Brother Kenta.
So going back to the fact that people say that well, Moors can't prevent anything, but what they fail to realize is when you get into that mindset of being a Moor, you're a noble, and being a noble is acting accordingly, being what you know.
Right.
Now, when you're under the jurisdiction of being black, or the umbrella of being black, Negro, or colored, you're pretty much you're a delinquent. You're an outcast.
Yep.
You're dead. Everything that you do, like there's a term in sociology called labeling theory. Basically, what it states is you are what you call yourself.
Yep.
You know, you call yourself a dog, you start acting like a dog. You know, you start doing dog things. You call yourself a king, you start acting like automatically you start manifesting what you say you are when you go within. So whether you're on the dark side or the light side, if you go within, whatever the result, whatever you put in will come out.
Right.
It doesn't matter. The machine will always, whatever you put in, will always come out.
And that's why, you know, everybody got mad at Yahshua. Because, you know, you told them, you guys looking at me like I'm something. When you're going to do greater stuff than I can ever do. Why? Because the word is what God is, not me or something out there or whatever like that. What you project is what God is. So you project that you're a nation when you're not that, then you won't be a nation. You can pretend all you want, but, you know, the world is not looking at that seriously. That's why these people have never, ever gotten any type of help from any nation with all this stuff that they're going through. And the only people that can help them is Moors. But our help is, you need to proclaim your nationality. Don't look at us to come and, yeah, black guys, come on, black guys, we're going to meet with their help and try to help the black guys to not get their ass kicked by people who don't like them. It doesn't go down like that. Because the fact of the matter is that the conditions will change when the mentality changes. And these people don't want to change their mentality because they've been taught that it's comfortable, it's cool to have this mentality of not knowing yourself. It's all right to not know yourself. Say I'm black, I'm Negro, I'm African. But then when you talk to African, they don't call themselves African. And nobody doesn't think that they should stop calling themselves African. When the people who are from there don't say that they're that. Clearly these people have mental problems.
Not even the people here don't even call African blacks. They
Right.
call them African.
Right. But the Africans don't accept that.
No.
African will tell you, no, I'm from the Congo.
Right.
I'm from Eritrea. I'm from Ethiopia. They're not playing,
No.
I'm a continent. Right? So I'm gonna shut my mouth and then we'll let expert talk on this nation that's not really a nation, because remember the key term, the historic continuity. Right? Now, remember, with all these, except the Garveyites, right? But with Rastafarians, Pan-Africans, chematologists, Nation of Islam, Nation of Gods and Earths, one thing that they all do, that they don't really address what it is that they're doing, but one thing they all do is name correction. All of them realize that I have a slave name, and then when I join this organization, I'm going to have to correct my name, because I can't be John Smith, you know, and say that I'm God. I can't be John Smith and say that I'm, you know, king of African nation or whatever. The fact of the matter is that they are going through the process that Moors go through, but not really going through the process. It's a pseudo name correction. Because as Moors, we'll say, yeah, I am whoever. Here's ID, papers, or something to prove it. You ask the Hebrew Israelites, your name's Yahweh, whatever. You got some ID for that? Nah, Yahweh has my nationality card, so I don't need to prove nothing. Oh, so Rastafarian, you're Ras King Emmanuel or whatever? You got some ID to prove that? Nah, I don't need no ID to prove that. But you just went to court. What name did he use when he went? Nah, don't worry about that. You know what I mean? That doesn't matter. Right? The chematologist people, Iraq, Nefer, Amen, and all that stuff. Okay, well, what name you're using should be put on the record that the name that you had before is not your name anymore. There should be something. Some type of documentation to prove. If they have nothing to prove, more than likely they're running some kind of fraud. More than likely they're running some kind of fraud. Right? And they're playing this game of treason. Not acknowledging really what it is going on. Right? They're really not acknowledging what's going on. Right? So we want to make sure that the people are clear. Right? We want to make sure that the people are clear. Yeah, you can just go. Yeah. Right. We want to make sure that the people are clear that the individuals that say they're a nation but don't have a nationality, don't have a national headwear, they don't have any customs or whatever like that. They're just doing this like, you know, some project. You know what I mean? Bristle board, yeah, where the stuff hand this in and try to get a mark for it or whatever. They get 0 because you have to have a tie to a nation, right? One of the last, because you know there's majority of them, but the ones that stand out are the ones that people know that continue to push this concept that they're a nation, right? But then when we question them on how are you a nation, they can't justify it. So we have brother Merrick gonna talk on the nation of gods and earths, because not only is he a national that has a nationality, but this is something that he was brought up in. So there's lessons in this that lets them know that they should nationalize, but because they don't study civics, they're absent-minded of getting over the hump, just like how he got over the hump and said, well, you know, clearly I can't be God. If I look up God, you know, verb transitive, a person can't be a verb. So you can't be God. Earth is, you know, out there, dirt and whatever like that. You can't be that, you know. So that's a fraud. And claiming that you're a nation of transitive verbs, you're a nation of transitive verbs, and dirt, clearly you're not a nation, you're playing games with people. You had some more?
Just to speak, I wasn't going to talk, but I realized the whole usage of the word nation, when you understand what nation means on a divine and international level, you have the Leaf Nation, you have the Raptor Nation.
Yeah.
What you realize is that they're using nation and they're using the power, which is the word,
Right.
to bring them up to a level which they don't have. They're taking their organizational sort of clubism and trying to
presenting
attach
it,
and trying to
projecting
attach
it
and
as
trying to attach it to that level. And what they've done, which I think is, just continued enforcement of what these sorcerers do, is they have been taking things that have been international, national, and divine, and they've been perverting and using the language and the energy behind those things to sort of further their own sort of agenda. So that's where you realize, and if, I've been watching a lot of the sort of, because the prophet said, keep listening and watching the
news,
because
newspapers, and
the usage of the word nation
is used
is used for everything nowadays. And what I think is happening, and when you were bringing up the NOI, and I'll just put this all out here and on and out there, which is that I think that there is, it's like the owners have come back to roost now.
Yeah.
Okay? This is that era.
Yeah.
This is what you're noticing now. They can't tell you that, but that's why everyone's getting in line now.
Yeah, yeah.
Because the true owners are coming back.
Right.
And things had better be in line, because the people that aren't in line are going to suffer.
Nature's got
so
something.
Everyone else is getting in line.
Yeah.
And what's happening is we're the last ones getting in line. And we're still denying that there's a line to get into.
Right.
And this is what this whole nation thing is, because, I was yet again on the news. Walmart has closed 260 of their stores.
Yeah.
If you don't see that as being, this is one of the largest corporations out there. They're shutting their doors. Target was another example.
Yeah, Target.
It is coming.
Yeah.
It is done.
Fast.
It is coming.
200 something stores one time?
Huh?
You better get your water
stores,
and stuff stocked
here,
up.
Brazil, all those areas, right?
Better start stocking up your
so
water and whatever else.
And this is what has happened with this nation stuff. They are tying themselves to nation because you're looking at historic continuity, but it's looking at the other things that nation represents,
right,
which is what they're using. It's like they're taking fertile soil to help them, they're taking that fertile soil of nation as the energy to help further them. There's no leaf nation,
right,
no raptor nation.
Right.
But you know what I mean? But watch, you have enough people who put on those leaf shirts and go out there,
so they can pose.
Something is created.
Yeah.
And this is what they have been, this is what the NOI and the NGE knew about back then, that word nation, which comes from natal, which comes from the feminine energy, is what they've been feeding off of.
So it's just more of a divide and conquer in a sense.
Well, 100%, 100%. But that has always been it, right? And what's happened is you've gotten people that realize this is the problem. We all know where the truth is, but that ain't going to be feeding your family. Right? But if I can pretend NGE is where it is, and I'm taking a slice of that, and taking a part of the fire and walking off into the thing, then I'm following the light, right? Supposedly. Exactly.
Islam family. Islam, Merrick Al-Shabazz Bey, formerly known as Supreme Ruler. Not going to take up too much time because there's way too many contradictions for me to point out. What I will do before I get started, because a lot of people are going to be like, oh, he's a fake, he's not real, he just read about the nation of gods and earths. So what I'm going to do is put my credentials on the record so that everybody knows I was a true and living. So in the nation of gods and earths, when we start our studying, we're required to create a book of life. So what the book of life represents is basically all the lessons that we get and all the things that we study, we put it in a book. So eventually when we get to a place where we've learned so much and we have children, we pass the book of life on to our children so they have something to look over and be like, oh, so we put our dates and they're like, oh, so in September 2nd, 2013, oh, this is when you got that lesson, and it gives us a sort of a timeline. So
historic continuity.
Exactly, historic continuity. And a lot of things that I was going to go over, we already touched on, so I don't really have to go over them anymore, so it worked out perfectly. But just to put this on the record, this is my book of life, so that they can see that, I'm not faking the funk, I did put in 10 years into that institution, you know what I mean? So this is my book of life. These are the things that I've written down. They all have dates. There's also some things that I put in plastic with my own handwriting, so, this is legit. This is my book of life. Also, I took it to a different degree than most people in the nation of gods and earths, and
when you do your research, you realize that the majority of the lessons of the Nation of Gods and Earths come from the Supreme Wisdom, which come from the NOI. So I'm not going to tell you how I came about getting this, but I do have the NOI's Supreme Wisdom, which all the lessons that we have, they come out of the Supreme Wisdom in the Nation of Gods and Earths. So like I said, I can't really tell you how I got this, because there's probably somebody out there looking for their book, but I do have the Supreme Wisdom. There's somebody out there looking. So like I said, I'm not gonna tell you guys how I got it, but I do have it. So that's just kind of give some form of credentials to let you know that I was in it. Like I said, I was in it for 10 years. Also, before I get started, I want to give honors to my Empress, Geneva Zinga Bay, who helped me prepared. When I realized it was overkill we did, because I'm just going to, it's overkill. It doesn't even make sense. Just a few points that's just going to kill the argument of whether or not the Nation of Gods and Earths is necessarily a nation. And this is coming from somebody who spent 10 years under the study of Nation of Gods and Earths. I knowledge 120. Knowledge 120 is what you call when you take all the Supreme Wisdom lessons and you have them in your head. So the way we got our lessons wasn't like, oh, somebody gave me the Supreme Wisdom. They're like, here's the book, study it, and come do your test when you're done. The way we did it, or the way it was done, or the oral tradition. So what would happen is somebody who's already knowledge 120 would now come to you. They call them your student teacher. So the teacher would come to you and they'd be like, okay, I'm going to give you the first lesson. This is the first lesson. They tell you orally, and they'll tell you until you get it in your head, until you can repeat it orally. Then once you've got that in your head, you gotta take it home, you write it down. Then when you're ready to move on, you go to get your next oral lesson. Yeah, programming, studying, oral, all the same, right? So I knowledge 120.
That's crazy.
The difference between the Nation of Islam and the Nation of Gods and Earths is that the Nation of Gods and Earths has what we call supreme alphabets and supreme wisdom. And to add on to what Brother Kudro was saying is that they follow the same principles where when you come into the nation, they tell you you have to get rid of your name, which comes from the Nation of Islam when they told you you got to get rid of your name, which comes from the Moorish Science Temple when they said you got to choose yourself a new appellation. So I'm just going to write
nationality.
declare your nationality, right? You change your name. So so historic. I'm going to leave historic continuity because that's what I was going to start with. Because when you look up the definition of a nation, it says it needs historic continuity to be classified as a nation. So the points that I wrote down, the Nation of Gods and Earth started in 1964. Excuse my writing, it's horrible. 1964 by a brother by the name of Clarence 13X, who called himself Father Allah or God Allah. Now, Clarence 13X was a member of the Nation of Islam Temple. Now, what I'm doing now, I call it either similarities or plagiarism. It has to be one of the two. It can't be both. It can't be a similarity and plagiarism. So it's a similarities between the Nation of Gods and Earths and the Moorish Science Temple of America, or it's blatant plagiarism. So I'm not going to tell you which it is. I'm just allow you individuals to figure it out yourself. So in 1964, Clarence 13X, otherwise known as Allah, left the temple to bring the information to the streets, because what he realized is that everybody that was in the NOI was basically like stuck up, quote unquote, black people, and the information wasn't getting to the people who needed it the most, basically the people in the streets. So he left in 1964, the Nation of Islam. So that already, to me, eliminates the Nation of Gods and Earths as being a nation, because they took all their information from somewhere else. So where they took the information was from the NOI. So this is NGE, that's when they started. NOI started in 1933. That's when the NOI started under Master Fard Muhammad, who they called the Allah himself.
There's a lot of Allah.
Yeah, so Clarence 13X called himself Allah. Master Fard Muhammad, who started the Nation of Islam with Elijah Muhammad, and they refer to Master Fard Muhammad as Allah himself. I don't know if anybody's seen pictures of Master Fard Muhammad. You should probably look into that and see how he looks and see if that makes sense of him being Allah, especially when you correlate that with what they say who is who, right? So NOI started in 1933. Now, we know Prophet Noble Drew Ali has been on the scene since 1913. So here we have historic continuity, but not in the form that they presented as supposed to be a nation. So 1913, we know Noble Drew Ali came on the scene. So I'm just going to get to some points. So one of the fundamental teachings in the nation of gods and earths is that the black man is God. So me being a young brother, when I came into that, you know, obviously you go through your life. You're young, and then, you know, so-called quote-unquote black people are always at the bottom of society, right? So somebody sparks you, they're like, yo, listen, brother, you know you're God? I'm a young brother, I'm like, yeah, you done, I'm feeling that. Yeah, black man is God. Okay, good, I'll roll with that. So the fundamental teaching is the black man is God. So the first lesson is question, who is the original man? Like I said, I have all these domed programs, I can't get rid of it now. So now it's in my head. So the first lesson is, who's the original man? Answer, the original man is the Asiatic, which, like I said, I don't need to get too deep because it'll expose itself as I say. So the answer is the Asiatic. The original man is the Asiatic black man, father of civilization, God of the universe. Now within that, you're like, hold on a second. How can you be Asiatic and then be classified as black? And on top of that, you're saying the Asiatic black man, but then you're going to say he's the God of the universe. So when you're hearing it, obviously you're feeling good because you're like, that's me. But when you start studying, you're like, he's Asiatic, he's black, and he's the God of the universe, also being father of civilization. Right? Now, when you look up the word black, like I was instructed to do once I found myself at home with the MST of A, you look up the etymology of black, and then black comes back to this word that looks like this. Yeah, Mike, right. I didn't practice before I started. So you look up black comes back as BLAC. You look up the etymology of that, and it says pale, it says shiny, and it says bright. So it's black, the way we have it is in total contradictory of what we view it as, right? Or what it actually is. So black means pale. So then I'm like, hold on a second. The whole time I'm learning the black man is God, I look up the etymology of black, and black comes back to pale. So in actuality, the teaching is saying that the pale man is God. Complete contradictory of what we're learning or what we think we're learning, right? So then, obviously, when I started studying, I'm like, yo, that's messed up. That's some serious conditioning that's going on right now, because a lot of people are thinking that they're talking about themselves when they're not actually talking about themselves. Because only black man would be the pale man by the etymological definition of who the black man is. So that's one of the main points. We don't really need to get too far into it. Another thing that distinguishes a nation other than historic continuity is the woman. Because we know that humanity is the woman, and humanity comes through the womb of the woman. Without the woman, there is no humanity. There's no nation without the woman. And that's why they always say that the nation can't rise any higher than its woman, than the condition of the woman. So if the condition of the woman is very low, then the nation has no choice but to be very low, because humanity comes through the womb of the woman. Now, the reason why I'm saying that is that there's no lessons dealing with the woman. No lessons dealing with the woman. The only I would say sources that would lead to the woman would be it being called the nation of gods and earths. And what they do is they use the terminology earth to refer to the woman, because obviously we know the planet would say it's a feminine entity.
Or Mother Earth.
Mother Earth, based on the fact that it produces life, it gives life, right? So that's how they reference the woman within the nation of gods and earths. Other than that, there's no lessons that deal with the woman. Like no specific lessons that say, listen, this is what we're going to use to raise the consciousness or the vibration of the woman so that we can get the nation to where we need it to be, right? Now, also,
in fact, it takes that away from the woman.
It
totally denies the woman.
Denies. It doesn't give her any place other than that she's the earth. But the black man is God.
Right.
The black man is God, or the black man is also symbolic to the sun, and the woman is earth. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So they're basically, what they've done is they made the nation, they took the European concept of patriarch, and applied it to what they call the nation of gods and earths.
In a sense, it's the same thing as saying the Holy Ghost, which is the holy nothing.
Exactly.
Same thing as the woman, she is nothing too.
Exactly.
Chichiism.
Now, see what points I'm going to touch on. So we touched on the what's it called? The etymology of black. The fact that there's no lessons in regard to the woman, and you can't raise a nation if the woman isn't raised. And when I mean raised, I don't mean like from a child to an adult. I mean raised from vibration, being from a low vibration, a low level of consciousness to a higher state of consciousness. If we don't give that or assist the woman, then humanity will always be in the state that it's in. Now, another thing I wanted to tie in with the fact that I don't know if I already stepped on it, but the fact that when we come to choose our names, we have to take the names out of what we call supreme mathematics and supreme alphabets, right? So what they did is, I realize now, once I've been doing my studying, is that they took numerology and they applied numerology and gave numbers and words meaning in mathematics and the alphabets. I can go through all of them, but it's not necessary. I'm just going to show you how they basically took what the prophet said when he says declare your nationality and choose an appellation that ties you back into the Moorish nation. They did the same thing from the Nation of Islam. What they said is, oh, get rid of your name. At first they say put an X at the end, get rid of the last name, give back the so-called slave master his name, and choose a name for yourself. And the Nation of Gods and Earth took it to another level. They introduced supreme alphabets, and they said choose your name out of supreme alphabets and supreme mathematics, which is how I got the name Supreme Ruler, right? Now, I took supreme out of supreme mathematics and supreme alphabets, because that's the first word, meaning the highest of, or basic meaning like, one step above. So I took the word supreme, and ruler, the 18th letter in the alphabet is R, and in supreme alphabets, or the Nation of God's supreme alphabets, it stands for rule or ruler. And then they have a breakdown of what that means. So to me, the supreme ruler resonated best with me. As soon as I seen it, I'm like, I like it. Now, once I did that, I stopped going by the name that my mother gave me at birth, which was Merrick. Right? I said, I don't want nothing to do with that. Nobody call me that. If you guys are going to address me Supreme Ruler, that's it. If you don't address me as Supreme Ruler, I'm not even talking to you. You know what I mean? I'll straight cut with it, right? Now, what's interesting, very interesting, is that when I was choosing my appellation for correcting my name and correcting my name, otherwise known as appellation and status, I just took Supreme Ruler. So by default, I would be the only god who has national identification with the name that they chose out of supreme mathematics and supreme alphabets. Nobody else can show that. Though what's interesting is that when I put in my papers to get my my card, my national identification card, for here,
Right.
The people who are in control of the cards, they sent me my card with the appellation on it, but they told me, listen, it's not really a free national name. It's it's basically another title. Yeah, she said it's basically another title. So what she told me, which was Ras Maria Bay when I was speaking to her, she told me, look up the name that your mother gave you, because a lot of time, even though the woman may be unconscious, she still has some form of connecting to that divine energy. So she's gonna name her child or give her child the appellation that resonates best with the child, even if she's doing it unconsciously. I was like, okay, I'm not argumentative. I'll look it up. So I looked at Merrick, Merrick. Interestingly enough, Merrick, when I looked it up, came back as a dark-skinned person or a Moor. That's the actual definition of my birth name that my mother gave me. So Merrick came back as a dark-skinned person or a person who's a Moor.
You dark, brother.
Huh?
And you dark, man.
I'd say I'm pretty dark. I'm not that light.
Another thing that was interesting, though, I think they said that all the vowels are interchangeable.
Interchangeable, exactly.
You take E out and put O, you're a Moor.
I'm a Moor. So that blew my mind. I was navigating my car at the time. I almost drove it off the road because I was like, what the hell? Like, my name says I'm a Moor. I've been being called a Moor my entire life and didn't know.
You've been denying.
I've been denying my appellation just to come back and find out my appellation was speaking to me the whole time.
360.
What's even more interesting is that the second definition of Merrick And like I said, I chose the name Supreme Ruler because I said that name resonated with me. The second definition of Merrick is a powerful ruler. So the whole time, I'm here choosing a new flipping name. I end up renaming myself what I'm already named. You know what I mean? I end up calling myself what I've been being called for years.
Confirmation, brother.
Exactly, right? So that was interesting when I looked when I looked into that. Well, the last point I'm going to make, because I don't want to take up too much time, because like I said, we can go through this forever. I could show inconsistencies till I go blue in the face. Though I'm going to first, in closing, put the flag of the nation of gods and earths on the record. Now, for you Moors who obviously do some studying, you guys are going to see some similarities or some plagiarism, either or either. Right? So this is the flag. It says, it's missing the F. My printer didn't print it for whatever reason. It says, in the name of Allah, which is also interesting because they use the acronym of Allah for arm, leg, arm, head. The same way as the Nation of Islam uses it, the same way as the Moors use it. Plagiarism or similarities. You guys decide. So that's the flag. Now,
I would have a question.
Quran.
Or were you looking to do something?
No, you can ask the question. I was looking for a Quran so I could put the Quran.
Okay, so my question is for you within this organization. To me, what I sense is that the ruler ends up being so-called Allah, right? Who is supposed to be God. They say
Who they say is us.
who they're saying.
So
each
Allah-
one of us.
So
is
each one of us is Allah, arm,
Yeah,
leg, arm, head.
Yeah, you're calling him Allah,
And ourselves
supreme
God.
sort of Allah. So he's the God of God, sort of thing. While you're just the little God or something.
No, what they say is that there is no one above us. Is that man himself, us, ourselves are God.
But yet he's calling himself God because everyone should be Allah.
Yeah. If you look at it, we should be calling ourselves God. We should be saying Allah.
So then, my question, I think I lost it just when you were going there, but my question then is, within the organizational status of this, they say in Buddhism, they say if you see Buddha along the road as you're going there, kill him. Because then because basically what happens is you can't ever attain Buddha if there's Buddha in your life.
Exactly.
So what my question for you is within the organizational framework of your organization, is there, to me, with all of these sort of, in my mind, fraudulent organizations, there's always this level where you're sort of always paying to them sort of thing in some way or another.
Yep.
Within yours, was there an opportunity for you to become, the Allah of Allah? And I only ask that to then, because I'm expounding that, because what I've sensed with a lot of these groups is that you end up getting this sort of power that they've given to you, but there's never that place for you to become the sort of Clarence X Allah.
Well, yes and no. Yes.
I'm asking if that.
Yes, in the sense of like the Clarence 13X is considered Father Allah.
Right.
But if you look in there's a lot of different things I was going to go through, but I said it's too much.
Yeah.
Though he says that we're all little Allahs or
Little
baby Allahs. you know what I mean?
You can't be supreme.
Yeah. Well, so.
My question would be, ultimately, at a certain point, you should then become sitting with him at that same table.
Which is what they do push that principle when they say, we're all Allahs. Right. But when you look at the documentation and the discourse between Clarence 13X and another brother who went to go visit him when he was called the Madhouse, he said that, there's a brother out here saying that he's Allah too. And then Clarence 13X said, yeah, he's not wrong. That he's saying that he's Allah. He's like, we're all Allahs, or we're all baby Allahs,
right.
or Allahs that are basically growing into being fully. So yeah, it is yes and no, but they do look at Allah as being the Father Allah, like he's the one that came down and said, yo, this is what it is, guys. You guys are Allah.
So there still is that sense of a sort of hierarchy, which exists.
But this is where the hierarchy comes in. That I notice is that let's say the information was brought out here by an individual. I'm not gonna name him. Though there's a discrepancy between who brought the information here first.
Of course.
Now everybody wants to be
because of what you're saying there. Because
everybody's Allah.
Yeah, exactly. So everybody wants to be that guy that brought the information here. We call it Canaanland. Through the nation of gods and earths, we name everything through mathematics and alphabets. They call it See Allah Nation,
right?
Or See Allah's Nation, right? Now there's a discrepancy between who brought the information here first,
right.
And everybody's trying to be that guy that taught the most people. Right. Oh, I taught 15 students, or my students are more deep into the information, and your students ain't stuttering. So there is that hierarchy going on. There's a constant rift between, well, I brought it here first,
you didn't bring it here, and then one will go back to what they call Mecca, which is Harlem, and go find another elder, so that elder can give them some more juice, so they can come back and say, yo, I went and seen the elder, now I have
the elder of the elder.
Yeah, the elder of the elder. Now I have
the God.
Yeah, now I have the mandate, and yo, I'm the one that brought it here, right? So there is that going on.
And then last question, in terms of you giving, let's say, your energies in the form of finance, was there any mandate towards that? And I always see that as being key towards how these things work too, right?
No, not at all. There wasn't anything set up like that, and that's how when we went around and called it a nation, but now I understand what a nation is. There was none of those governmental principles or paying dues or a temple or, let's say, a place where we all meet. There was nothing. It was just basically, I met up with you, we studied, and we went about our way.
Almost in a sense, that could be almost considered almost more pure to in a certain sense.
Yeah.
To a certain level, because there wasn't that. I think in NOI, I think you're supposed to be paying.
For sure.
The stuff, right? So
but there was nothing like that. It was just brothers that came together, studied, and went about their way, right? So the similarity I will make is you have what?
No, that was it. I just wanted those two questions.
Perfect. So the similarities I'm going to show you guys again. This is the flag that was drawn up to represent the flag of the nation of gods and earths. Right? And each of these stand for something. So you have supreme alphabets is the top point. Or supreme mathematics. I'm going to get hell for that one. So supreme mathematics for the top one. You have, going around clockwise, you have supreme alphabets, supreme mathematics, supreme alphabets, English lessons from 1 to 10, 1 to 14, 1 to 40, astral facts, and solar facts. And those comprise of all the lessons, and each one of these little points represents those lessons. Right? So there's let's say 8 chapters, and within each chapter, there's a number of different lessons, right? Now, I'm going to put the Holy Quran up, and I'm going to see if you guys can pick out the similarities between the flag and the 7 that's on the Holy Quran. Now, one thing that I will mention is that the Nation of Islam, their flag, doesn't have a 7. It has a moon, and it has a star. Doesn't have a 7. Now, this is why I was talking plagiarism or similarities. Now, I ask myself, how in the world, if the Planet 13X came out of the Nation of Islam, how did they manage for their flag to produce a 7 inside a circle? So if you look closely, it is actually inside of a circle. And the 7 of the Holy Quran is a 7 inside a circle. Now, you could say, it was just divine intervention, dude, you know what I mean? Just fell asleep and just went into your classic records and came back and said, yo, I got it. I know what it is. This is what it is. Obviously, that's not the case. Whoever designed this flag obviously knew about the Moorish Science Temple of America and knew that the 7 in a circle represented something, which is why he or she or whoever created it put the 7 in a circle. Another thing that
Great Seal too.
The Great Seal in the circle as well.
Upside down.
Upside down, you flip it around, it becomes a 7 in a circle. You see the shaded part? There's a 7 in a circle. Now, another thing that I will mention here is that the Moorish flag, we can all see here, we all know what the Moorish flag looks like, has a 5-pointed star in the middle. That stands for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Take a close look. Inside that circle, there's a 5-pointed star. Similarities, plagiarism, massive coincidence. Now, the star represents the child, which I'm going to make a very interesting connection. The moon represents the woman, which for some reason is friggin' hidden behind the damn 7. You can barely see it, which is what I don't understand, because if we understand that humanity is a woman, if anything, the moon should either be bigger or in front of the 7, or the moon should be in the circle and the 7 should be within the moon and the star within the 7. If you're thinking it from a monarchy perspective where the woman is humanity, why the hell is the moon, who represents the woman, who's also represented by the earth, so now she's both, anyways, why is the moon hidden behind the 7? That's another interesting question. Now, with that star, if we look at the prophecies of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, he said he came for who? The young and the unborn. Now, isn't it interesting that the star represents the child who could otherwise be known as young or unborn. Now these are things that I made, connections that I made within my own mind. It's interesting how the star, the small star, represents the child, and Noble Drew Ali said he came for the young and the unborn. To me, obviously whoever designed this flag, or so-called flag, banner, obviously knew about the prophet's teachings. Because how interesting it that it did the similarity between the star being the child and Noble Drew Ali coming for the young and the unborn, that it just so happened to be. Now, a beautiful point that I'll end with, because like I said, I can go on forever. Lesson 35 in the English lessons 1 to 40. We call it the 1 to 40. Lesson 35. And the brother Cujo just passed this to me when I came here today, and I was just going over it, and I'm like, because every time I look into this, I find some type of contradiction. I'm like, man, I could actually make a 50 episode video of each of these lessons and see how they contradict each other. So now let's go to lesson 35. Now, in the nation of gods and earths and in the nation of Islam, they consider the Caucasian or the European the devil, right? So they don't have that understanding that, you know, the devil can be manifested as the lower self, because you have a lower self and you have a higher self. What they want to do is they want to be like, okay, well, we're God, and if we're God, our arch enemy must be the European, so the European must be the devil, right? So that's that flawed way of thinking. Now, the question 35 asks, in the 1 to 40, it says, tell us the exact date of expiration of the devil's civilization. So depending on which lessons you get, the Supreme Wisdom, it's a little bit different, but I just go with this one. It basically say, tell us when the devil's time was over. Like, when was the Europeans' rule, like, eliminated? Finished. Now the answer is very interesting. I want to see if you guys catch it before I tell you. So the answer for when was the devil's civilization, when is his civilization, his time to rule expire? It expired in 1914. Now before I say anything, how is that interesting? Like, how does that kind of tell you something? Remember, this is not the nation of Islam. It said it expired in 1914. So what could have happened in 1914 or previous to 1914 that could have ended the Europeans' rule? Anybody?
The birth of Noble Drew.
Oh no, I would think it was the creation of the old Canaanite temple, right?
Yeah, perfect. Noble Drew Ali came on the scene in 1913. So Noble Drew Ali comes.
That's correct. He didn't come on the scene then, but that was when
the old Canaanite temple
was founded. Right?
Founded.
Yeah.
Perfect. So the old Canaanite temple was founded in 1913.
And also, 14 World War I. The whole European family started to have their breakdown.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Austria,
yes. Because ours killed
Islam.
So the point that I leave everybody with is that in the Nation of Islam lessons, also the Nation of Gods and Earths lessons, which obviously it doesn't qualify as a nation based on the fact that, another point I wanted to make that I almost forgot, is that what's very crucial in any nation is for that nation to be taught law and civics. If you don't have law and civics, how do you govern the nation?
Well, that's a very interesting question. So, I think you were making that before we were here. To the ones who weren't here, you were saying that they never taught law or
never civics,
or dealt with anything with dictionaries or anything like that.
We never, through my whole time being in the Nation of Gods and Earths,
right.
Some people might say, oh, just because of me personally, we never picked up a dictionary. We never were instructed to pick up a dictionary. We never even picked up a law dictionary of any matter. I didn't even really know about etymology dictionary till I came here. So I spent 10 years and I didn't know anything about dictionaries, going through any forms of research using etymology, using dictionaries and using law dictionaries. We never taught that.
Just the one other question I think is to me very informative throughout everything that we are now, the consciousness that we're getting on, is what I found in this particular paradigm, that within the teachings that we learn here, we're always told to study.
Yeah.
Right? Which in my mind allows one to form their own basis of knowledge.
Yeah.
And what I'm asking, what you're stating to me, what I think I've noticed even like in terms of things like the so-called church, pretty much their doctrine has been to follow what we're saying, don't stray outside of that, don't go try and figure out anything, just listen to what we're saying. So within your within this particular organization, was there, what you're saying is they never told you to find any other books to look outside?
We were told.
Was there anything about you trying to, within the process of becoming God, they weren't telling you to go out and
They did tell us, because the way we have to look at the nation of God's earth is that it's just a group of people.
Right.
It's a group of individuals.
Right. There
wasn't no structure. Right. No organizational structure. So they did tell us to read, but all the books that we did read, or that I found anyway, all had black on it. Black man this, black man that, blackness this, blackness that. Though if we would have went to a dictionary, and then to an etymology dictionary, and then to a law dictionary, immediately we would have been like, okay guys, we can't call ourselves black.
Right.
Because based on the definition, that isn't us. Now, I'll say that they weren't taught to go open up a dictionary, and the people who taught them weren't taught, and so forth and so on. Which is why, exactly, which is the continuity of that history. Which is why by the time it got to me, like dictionaries wasn't part of it. Dictionaries wasn't part of it. But I'm saying as soon as you open up a dictionary, there's nothing left to debate, and that's why me personally, especially with these brothers, because I'm gonna probably stir up some. I'm gonna stir up some feelings. If anybody gets a hold of this, I'm gonna stir up some feelings. But
no emotions.
You can't debate truth.
That's right.
I present the facts, and that's why I didn't tell people whether it's plagiarism or similarity. I leave it up to the people to decide. But you can't debate facts, and all I do is present the facts. And once I went into a dictionary and I researched the etymology of black, sorry man, because I ain't pale, so it's not gonna work for me. You know what I mean? So I can't run with that now and say, you know what, black man is God. I can't say that anymore based on the fact that I actually know what the definition of black is. So with that, I'll say.
Oh, and just one last thing, and for you though, I think one of the things that I think we've seen through a lot of these sort of black conscious groups is they have
school kids.
Yeah.
They have
whatever you need.
They have made sure to make the so-called European the enemy.
The enemy.
And by keeping you away from, because part of I think us finding our way back is we probably have to go through the European again to find our way back. So once they have made sure that they're telling you not to study them or that they're the enemy, you're now disconnected.
Yeah, you've disconnected yourself from a certain part of history, which ultimately comes back to being part of you.
Well, it has to be.
It has to be, right?
Because it got transferred to them.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they right now are the ones sort of in that seat, right?
Exactly.
So we have to study that to then get back to us.
Exactly. And but by having it in the mind that these people are devils or whatnot, it limits our ability to do proper research, because anything that has to do with them, you're just not going to look at it. You'll be like, nah, I don't want to look at it.
Or you're going to discredit it.
You're going to discredit it, be like, oh, it's foolishness. And that's why there are people who are like, oh, you know what I mean, it's a European's dictionary. Quote unquote, the white man's dictionary. It's the white man's law. It's the white man's this, like Brother Kuja was always saying. But that limits you to be able to actually get to the bottom of things, because you stop yourself from going through those sources to try to dig out and uncover what you can. Right? So, with that, brothers, I'm going to say peace, Islam.
Great one. Another 5 minutes.
Yeah, I tried, man.
Any other questions?
No other question. I think it happens for a reason, and your foundation was what you were first introduced to, at least that kept you on some kind of track to lately be here. I would never bash anything that I came into, because it came to you for a reason.
Yeah, 100%. That's why I didn't bash. I just said, listen, you decide whether to plagiarism more.
And I'm not saying you were bashing. I'm saying that for those who want to battle the brothers, so what system was that? I mean, really, truly, this is a single game that we're playing. This is about you and your journey. Exactly. So in your journey, you're evolving and you're coming to all this information, and it all relates.
For sure.
If that happens to you, it happens for a reason.
And that's why I'm saying, me personally, I'm like, there's no debating. Once the facts have been presented, and especially if you're in a school of thought of consciousness where you're instructed to study, there's nothing to debate, because the information is what it is. You can't debate truth. And that's why I don't understand debates, because if everybody's coming with the truth, then there should only be one thing that they're coming with.
Exactly.
Right. You know what I mean? So how do you debate truth?
Somebody's obviously lying.
Yeah, one of the debaters is a liar, and the other one is telling the truth, they're both liars. You see what I'm saying? Because you can't debate truth. That doesn't make any sense.
Just going to say that we all too, I think we were talking about this before, that every single one of us here has come through, or is coming through, if we're truly on the search for the truth, and the one truth, and truth doesn't have sort of variations to it. All of us have come through some process of darkness, blackness, right? Whether it's whatever form it is. Because if we were all born into enlightenment, then we wouldn't be here. This wouldn't be an issue. We wouldn't be going through what we're going through, right? So all of us have to recognize that even coming through black power was one of the streams, and that all of those streams have always been touched by the truth. Because remember, the truth rules everything. Right? The truth absolutely rules everything. What we are experiencing are variations of that truth, right?
And the divine truth.
Straight. Right. So this and that's part of the reason why, you know, like we have to we have to hit the nail on the head with certain stuff.
Right.
Because we know, based on us walking those paths, we know that those things are a fraud. They're not the thing to be part of anymore for us. Yeah, other people might need it, but you know, if I had a Moor tell me back then about this, I wouldn't have needed that stuff.
Yeah.
We would have probably been further off if everybody was born Moor.
But we keep using the
You know what I
example
mean?
of Jose Clemente Bay, who at the age of 14
At 14,
was introduced to this, and then he became
He
a
became-
manifestation of that. So
right.
if we were getting that in our womb, we would be the
it would be
prophets.
so right. So
To that extent.
and again goes back to Drew Ali with, you know, come for the young and unborn. So it has nothing to do with us being the ones that benefit from something.
But we also have to
Right.
remember that the young and unborn can be us. We can be young in our mind.
Right, right,
And
right.
unborn of the truth.
Right.
So we can't ever forget
Right.
that either.
Exactly.
Right?
Brother Kenta.
Oh, regarding the truth, it just seems that the lie is fragmented because based on what Merrick put up there, if you break it down, 1964, the information in there is true. But as far as the source, that's what's withheld, and certain things pertaining to the source that makes it a lie. But when you start from 1913 and you move up, because it just seems like the information is there and it's given, but until I guess Merrick went into the dictionary and saw black as something else, not what he thought it was, then it's like, okay, now the fragments are becoming whole. You start piecing things together because NGE came from NOI, NOI
Came from MSTA.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you follow the line, you come back and it just, the whole truth is right in your face.
And it's not tainted. It's
Right.
not.
But
It's
why-
not
the reason why-
muddy.
The reason why I was asking Merrick those things is that basically all of this should be a process to get back to the
To get back to
what the issue is what you realize through, I think, personal needs and desires or feelings of wanting to be in control of stuff, which is
Yeah.
what I think Merrick was making point of, that you're never going to get there.
Right.
Because really, like they say, it's about me giving you the directions to get to the mountaintop. It's not about me saying you got to pay me
And I'll lead you there.
to
Right.
lead, or
Right.
not even lead you there, lead you to a level of there, and then you're not supposed to go beyond, right? Each one of this should be about me putting you on my shoulders to let you fly, right?
Right. So the key is for our people to recognize that they do have a nation, a real nation, that they can tie themselves to. No Jolly told the Moors that, you know, the flag, the Moroccan flag, has been flying on this side for over 10,000 years. There's no flag that anybody's brought that has that historical continuity, right? Headwear that, you know, like we said, some people say religious, some people say national, but it has some type of historical reference point that when you do your research on it, you'll find out how far back it goes. When you see people got stoned with feathers on, it puts things in perspective as to what it is. When you see stones with turbans on, you know what I mean? When you look at you know, you talk about George G.M. James and him making reference to the Moors being the custodians of ancient Kemetic culture, and then they show you the Great Seal, which is a pyramid with an eye on top, right? And then we take this fez right here, and then we take this ball. This ball now becomes that eye on top of the pyramid. If we keep going like this with the fez, eventually it's going to get to a point. Right? If we keep going like this, eventually we're going to get to a point. And this ball would represent that eye. Right? And then same thing with what Brother Merrick was saying. That they call themselves God because it's the seventh letter. Then you realize why people have G inside their stuff. And then they're going to have you think, oh yeah, the geometry, because this is a compass, and then, this is a square or whatever like that. When really they're letting you know our science. Right? And then if you do this, now you have, 6-point star. Which, again, is a representation of this, geometrically. Right? So all the things that were in darkness are being brought to light. And once those things are brought to light, now the people can see. Right? They're not going to see it in darkness. The people aren't going to be able to figure this out in blackness. This is why, again, Drew Ali said, if you doubt what I'm telling you or whatever, go to people in City Hall. Go to your government officials who are supposed to be the adepts that have this information. You go to them and they'll tell you, and they'll be glad to give you a favorable reply when they find out that, you know that you're not black no more? How many people have we as Moors went and talked to, and they see us as Moors, and then they drop stuff on you that they would never tell a black man, because it's not going to mean anything. It's not going to have any relevance to somebody that doesn't have knowledge of self to let them know that, Moors did whatever. And the science of the Moors goes into occult stuff, Knights Templar, Freemasons, Scottish Rite, again, Moors being the custodians of ancient Kemetic culture means that they're the custodians of ancient Phoenician culture, ancient Canaanite culture, Cushite culture, right? Dogon culture, where they're not even from the planet. They're saying that they're from some other constellation behind stars and all that stuff like that. But all the highest priests of Dogon wear fezzes. Not the common Dogon. The people who all the people in Mali go to say that, hey, that guy, we need to go talk to that guy. We have to set up a meeting with the priest of the Dogon to find out whatever. That guy has a fez on. And they're not even from the planet. Then you have, Doctor Who, who's an alien in a European body. Saw the fez, put the fez on, like, oh, fezes are cool. And then the whole episode, now he walks around with fez on, people slapping fezes off his head. He's like, yo, what you guys doing? You guys gotta have respect for my stuff. You know what I mean? He's going to a museum, seeing a fez in a glass case, taking the fez out a glass case in a museum, putting the fez on, a portal open up, then him taking off the fez, throwing the fez through the portal, and then jumping through the portal, going into other dimensions and stuff like that. This is a TV show. They have SpongeBob, he's a Mason, then he has his fez on, you know what I mean? And then you have, Bugs Bunny, and then he has a fez on, and Daffy Duck's chilling, you know what I mean, in the couch and stuff like that, he got the fez on, right? And then you have Homer, and they have their little fez stuff going on. Everybody's trying to let these people know.
Flintstones, the dog.
Right? Everybody's trying to let our people know, from this big to adults. You know that there's something's different. You know what I mean? You guys need to pay attention to what's going on. But our people are in blackness. They're content being black. Why? Because these traitors, treasonous, have kept these people's mindset on such a dumb level that they don't even see what's in front of their face. You know what I mean? and they think that they can't do anything about it because the white man doesn't want us to have knowledge of self because they stole our. He has all your stuff in secret. He might not tell you, but he has all your stuff, and he is not a revealer. It's not his duty to put the information out. They're doing it to save face because they realize time's up. Law of retribution's coming on them if they don't start putting this information out that, these people have a culture. They never came here as some slaves from Africa. Just like we were talking about, there can't be kings, queens, whatever of the universe and all this stuff, and you let some European come into Europe, whatever, put shackles on you and put you on the boat in millions, and then you come over here and then you're talking about, these guys came from the cave, they're the devil and all that stuff. When you're the majority, how are you a majority? You let a minority put you in slavery to the point where millions of you are taken on a ship somewhere that's not your land or whatever, and then Noble Drew Ali comes and says, you're from Missouri. And, the slave boat game was really up and down the Mississippi River. It wasn't across no Atlantic, because why? Those people at that time thought that, a squid is a sea monster. And they're not getting in the water. And if they go all the way to that line, they're going to fall off the edge of the earth and all that stuff. And then now you have 2016, Europeans coming up, you know what? We found out that the world's actually flat. It's not really round and all that stuff. And people are going with that. Again? But then there's moon right there, that circle. And then there's sun, and all these planets are spheres, but Earth is flat. But then if you sail to that line, you're not falling off the edge. You're just going to bump into more land. And then you sail to that line, and then you're going to bump into more land again. Clearly, it's not flat.
Civilization came out of Africa,
right?
Which is where they tell you we're from, right?
No secrets. Everything's being brought to light. That's why Noble Drew Ali said, 1913, I took away all the secrets. And listen to the radio, read the newspaper. He's going to make the European tell the truth.
Well, I keep telling people at this point they have to, right?
They have no choice.
It's a divine thing right now. If they don't get in line, their stuff is going to.
Yeah.
They're trying to hold on.
And along with you saying that, all these Walmarts are closing. A lot of people ain't paying attention to what's happening to the so-called Canadian dollar. Huh?
Yeah.
That shit's tanking right now. It's at
Every
68
day.
cents.
Yeah, it was at 70 2 days ago. So it's at 68 cents, 2 cents a day or whatever.
What was interesting too, yet again watching the same Europeans, right? Because they know there's trouble, right? They've been telling you these lies for the last, 30 years that oil has been running out.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden, what they're telling you now is there's way more oil than they can do anything with. So they're telling you at a certain point that the oil was running out, the plant was done, but now there's way more oil than they can do anything with. But then what the same guy is telling you is that Canada, so-called Canada, the corporation, is a commodities-based country. So their survival is based on the stuff in the land, which is the oil. Right? So once the oil becomes useless, which is what all these people in Alberta have been making all their billions off of, now it's nothing. So if a barrel of oil is $1, we're done. Yeah. And that's what's happening. Right? Yeah. The end is here, right? Yeah. The same oil that they were trying to tell you, convince you was this black gold, right? Is now we've got, everyone can have buckets and buckets of oil.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's same thing that we were paying, remember, $1.50 for a liter of gas 2-3 years ago, right? You know what I mean? It's madness and lies, right? It's coming to an end. The custodians are coming home. Right?
And everything, exactly. Everything is 360. Everything is going right back to where it started. Everything is going right back to where it started. You know what I mean? We have people that actually know that they're Aboriginal and Indigenous again. There are people who actually know that they're not black people. That I'm not going to let you classify me as black anymore.
What you realize is what they've been trying to do is get in front of the game on the Aboriginal thing.
Right.
That you're still having to pay homage to them
Pay
under the Aboriginal game.
Right.
Yeah.
You should not understand the Aboriginal game has nothing to do with them.
Right.
Now, if you want Aboriginal, come to the European to get your
To
Aboriginal
get your
rights.
Aboriginal rights,
And
get
money,
your
right?
your
It's
tax
all
card
It's
and all that
absolute
stuff
madness.
when they don't have the authority
It's like
to
a,
do
it's like a
anything.
dog going to a cat to get his dog license.
That's
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
You can't go to a foreigner to get what's yours. It doesn't make no sense.
Right. So we're at that time right now. So again, you know, it's about us recognizing what it is that was presented to us. You know what I mean? And you know, appreciating the fact that when we utilize what was given to us, it might not be immediate freedom for ourselves, but for little man, little brothers in the back, them coming up, when they come up with this information, it's going to be a whole...
Imagine what this young offspring is going to be like if he's on this for the next 20 years.
20 years.
He's gonna be,
When he gets to 20 years old or whatever.
He's free back here, right?
Right? We're already, you have them challenging their teacher, oh yeah, that's not a blackboard and stuff like that. Why you guys call them that blackboard and all that?
And then to remind all of us, remember, it's also about us and our unborn and young mind.
Yeah, real blackboard.
That's a real black.
Right? Any questions? I know there's some new people here today, so we just want to make sure we open the floor. Nothing's ever off topic. If you got anything, you could bring it up now. I'm sure somebody has something to put up.
A lot of people are coming with the whole Jesus. They don't want to lose their Jesus and the whole Islam and
Yeah.
stuck on the whole Muslim and Christianity thing.
Well, let's look at it like this. So-called Jesus spoke Aramaic, and every time he met somebody, he said "Assalamu alaikum." So
That's the description of him is burnt brass,
the burnt brass
and woolly hair.
and woolly hair, and he said "Assalamu alaikum." So clearly he wasn't Christian. Clearly he wasn't Christian. And then if you check Christian, you realize that comes from Constantine, which is a Roman emperor. So, you know, these people have to realize that those guys at the pulpit's been playing them and lying to them.
And then also
And
when you look
there
at
ain't
where
no devil.
Christianity came from, it came 300 years after so-called
Yeah.
Jesus was supposed to have died.
After 300 years after he died, there's this thing called Christianity. And when you check the Bible, Christianity is nowhere in there.
And even worse, when you do that etymology of Christianity, you come back creative.
Yeah, you're a Cretan.
Cretan. It means you're a dummy. You're a fool. So it means...
Which, you know...
No offense.
Let's not do that. Don't do
No
that.
offense. No offense, but just say it. Just say it.
It's
Well,
also,
I mean, sorry to cut you. Just like you just mentioned that Christianity came 300 years after, it came through the Nicene Creed.
Yeah.
You go to any Catholic church, they have the Nicene Creed oath
Yeah.
in the Bible.
Nicene Constantinopolitan.
Yeah.
No, I know, but
That's what I'm saying, but
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
doing that. Go on.
so, you know, I remember one time I asked him, I said, well, what does the Nicene Creed, what's it all about? I said, well, you know, that's just an oath that we just take.
Yeah.
Okay, well, explain. Well, you know, is what we always get.
Yeah.
Well, you know. So, I mean, don't need to elaborate more on it, but just if you look at the dictionary, you look at the Nicene Creed, and it's going to tell you exactly where Christianity started.
So I just want to give, I think you had something to say.
Yeah, go ahead.
now, that also came to with nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, when you're nice, you're kind of
I think one of the things too, I think all of us here have to also realize, I don't think it's it is our duty to help wake
Yes.
up our people, but also, unless you've got a special certain place, it's not really our duty to go into those places to try
No,
and.
no.
Yeah.
With
So,
just
yeah.
in hearing, I just wanted to preface that, like, going to challenge some priest or someone like that to
Right,
try to
right.
convince him of
I had
something.
to find out.
No, I
yeah.
know, but you're a brother who can deal with that. I'm just saying, you might
But
find
then,
yourself locked up in some church.
That's and then remember, And then remember, the church basement is where Dracula used to be at.
That's right.
You know, so, you know.
And Dracula's always coming out of the church, right?
But at the same time, being a Christian, you basically take away your birthrights and your nationality. It's also status.
Right. Right.
You know?
But I think we also have to remember when you do the further study into that, Christianity was about Krishna, which was about light and
Right.
purity. So
Right.
what Jesus, that's where you understand when you do the further study that it's about perversions of those things. He was a Christ. He was
Right.
of
He was
that,
a Krishna. Yeah.
He was of that line and of
Yeah.
that mindset, right? But
Yeah.
they've taken that and perverted that and made that now a control system.
That's why when you talk to Hindus, they'll tell you that they have the body,
Right.
that he's buried in India,
Right.
because that's where he was last
And
when he was
that's
studying.
where Krishna is from, right? Krishna.
Yeah. But the actual quote unquote Jesus,
Physical body was there.
they got the body in India.
But it's funny that the Quran tells you that he was in India and in all of those
Yep.
places, right?
Yep. You know what I mean?
That's
So
18 years, right? It's not lost 18 years.
yeah, lost 18 years, which is why people who are quote unquote Christian, they should be running to this information, because you know we got the 18 years that's missing from when he turned over the money changer tables, and then all of a sudden he's 33, and then he's, you know, what about all the other stuff that?
Is that why you think they make 18 the legal age after 18, or
Who knows? That's another science. That's another science. Yeah, yeah.
But 1 + 8 = 9, right? Comes back to Islam.
Comes right back. You know, to be in.
Well, and actually 18 is 2 nines.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. Which is, you know, yin yang,
Yeah.
Yup.
There's so much ways.
which goes back to Buddhism, which is, you know, the same Krishna, Taoism, whatever teachings or whatever like that, showing that everything's relative. So a Muslim should be able to pick up a Bible. A Christian should be able to pick up a Quran. A Buddhist should be able to pick up a Bible, a Holy Quran, or whatever like that, because everything is one.
That's what the prophet. That's what the prophet
One
tells you.
concept.
Right? He actually tells you that.
Yeah.
It leads you back there. And that's
Everything-
probably what's
everything goes
missing.
back.
If we were to take, because that's what happened.
You covered
Each
that.
one of those
Everything-
prophets.
everything's splintered.
Each one of those prophets was there for their people.
Right.
You covered that.
That's
When I'm saying you covered that when you were the last class you did online, when you said that each nation views Allah. I don't know if it was you that covered it, but each nation views Allah differently. So
The Allah of
so Buddha in one culture is a representation of Allah, where Allah in the
Or Muhammad.
Yeah,
Muhammad
yeah.
or Jesus, everybody views Allah or
Yeah.
part. Oh no, you know what I was reading in the Quran. That's right.
Yeah.
I was reading that in the Quran. No, I was reading it in the Quran.
Yeah.
It's saying each nation views Allah differently and calls him something else.
Something else,
You
yeah.
know what just came to me, which is very
human
interesting too?
beings, labeling stuff. That's all.
You know what's very interesting to me, which came to me that just now, is that it seems to me that each one of, and we can end, when, each one of these so-called prophets seem to come to Asiatics.
Yeah.
Where was the Europe? The European didn't even have a prophet.
Right.
He had to take ours and pervert
And
him
pervert it
to
into
take it,
his,
because
yeah.
really, what I sense is that Allah was trying to warn all of us to get in line, and
Yeah.
He didn't. And this is the manifestation,
The
of that was the
manifestation is what we
European.
see.
And then the European took that, and then Allah had to, because the European is also His creation too,
Right.
right? Via whatever,
Yeah, whatever.
and
but-
he had, and he has to look at, and he's to be saved as well,
Right.
under his own,
Under-
his own
Right.
line.
Right. And his own line is really
To us.
Well, it's
It's
fine.
really- it's
But,
really awesome.
but where we've fallen out of line is we're worshiping under his line.
right.
And that's
right,
the real. And
right.
that's the real
while
problem.
while he's worshiping, because the Pope got the Black Madonna and all
Black
that stuff. He's
Madonna,
not looking
right.
at no European Jesus as no
Right.
savior.
That's right. That's for
You know
the
what I mean?
masses.
That's for the masses. That's for the people
The
who
bill payers.
have.
Sorry, I didn't want to go
Yeah,
there.
oh, it's okay. We know they pay the bills.
Even the grave sites has our symbols on it.
Yeah, yeah.
So they know what time it is. Back in there.
So with that, guess we'll close out. There's no questions. So we're here every Sunday, 1 o'clock. Feel free to come here in the back. Brother Amari, that's our secretary. Any
Well,
any
it'll
other
take,
stuff?
it'll take a while. On the town hall meeting, we'll talk about it.
All right. Oh,
No, I mean like the past 2 weeks, the situation.
oh yeah. Quickly, let's just Nationality is free. Not just here
Let me just.
But all over the world,
But one
nationality
other
is
thing
free.
too, paperwork is free.
Paperwork is free,
Can I just do 2 minutes?
right?
Like,
All right.
Yes.
I'm starting.
don't worry, man, don't worry.
So 5 minutes.
It's gonna be quick. I just want to put something on the record to a lot of Moors out there in terms of.
Minute 45.
You cut into my time, man.
Minute 35.
When you just mentioned nationality is free, we have to ask ourselves what is nationality and who we are as a people. Now, to answer those questions, the first thing we do is we get a Black's Law dictionary. Right? Black's Law dictionary. Can't see it. We get an etymology dictionary. We get an almanac.
I thought that was a calendar.
See, there you go. We get an almanac, we get maps, and then we get treaties.
Oh yeah, unnumbered.
Sorry?
Unnumbered.
Yeah, oh, I can't forget that. Okay? So, nationality is free. But in order for you to find out about nationality, you need all of this. Period. Don't come to me. Because if you come to me, I'm going to tell you where to go. Don't go to Cujo. Because if you go to him, he's going to tell you where to go. Fact of the matter is, if you're going to look to me to get all your information, you're going to be waiting a long time. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down everything in these books, and you better have them. So before we go out there trying to exercise what we need to exercise in terms of who our nationality is, what our nationality is, you need these tools.
But I think it's unfair to say that people shouldn't come to you.
No, the reason why I'm saying it like that, I might sound a little strong saying it because I want to hit the point, is that the nation is within you. So the information is within you. Right now, you all are educating me in terms of the true etymology of the word education. It's each one teach one. Education, I educate you, you educate me. Period. Don't look to me, because I said, like, I don't want to get into the details, but I got a lot of phone calls this week, and a lot of screaming was going on in terms of what information most people could have, what information most people don't have, or what could we get and who could we talk to. First thing I'm going to do is, do you have a Black's Law dictionary? If you say no, well, can't really speak to you. We will talk, but you're going to get the information from me. But I want you to see it so that you could internalize that information as well. I'm going to speak to you also on the almanac, the maps, the treaties, and the unabridged dictionaries. You need all these tools in regards to your nationality. You already have your nationality. The nationality is within you. It's within mother. But if you want to exercise fully, the information is within these tools. I just want to get that out there. I mean, I'm going to speak more. Go ahead.
Just
Next question.
clarification for people. I guess some people who do know who don't.
Go ahead.
Somehow people are calling you saying that someone else has been giving that information, and that's because I'm saying
Yes.
you don't seem to be really.
No, I know.
You wouldn't be able to correlate what you're.
Exactly, because I said I have to basically start from the beginning in terms of the full story. But in regards to that, like, can I have a membership form?
Well, can you give a truncated, or can you give a point?
Well, truncated. I said I received a phone call this week, and I was speaking to a sister for a long time, and she was basically telling me that I don't know anything.
Okay.
Right. I said that's fine. I don't know anything.
Right.
Because everything that we're supposed to know, I only know like a sliver amount. Right. However, what I do know is that information that is for us is hidden within all these tools.
Right.
So it's for me to go and find it now, since I don't know it.
Right.
So I asked them the question in terms of, what does this mean, or what does that mean? And it was like, I don't know. Okay, do you have the tools to go find out? Right. Well, no, I don't. So then how are we going to get past us not knowing what we're supposed to know?
And does that have something to do with exactly what we were talking about in the last couple of weeks, though, too?
Yes.
Believe it.
Yes.
Faith will make it.
Yes. I'll get more deep into it more, but I wanted to speak on the membership form for the temple. This is the first study tool that we recommend. There's a lot of words on here that a lot of us think we know. But through more investigation, we will find out that it means completely different than what it actually been told to you that it is. I'm going to use one word on here when we ask someone, what's a territory? Right? Most people will say, well, Toronto's a territory. Well, describe territory. Right? Territory is a whole landmass. Well, Toronto is just a piece of a landmass. You need a much bigger landmass. So that word alone puts it in perspective of exactly what we haven't been taught through our years, over the years. So I go back again. These are the tools we're going to need to get started on knowing what we need to know. Or what I won't say what we should know, but what we need to know.
I think that,
Go ahead.
in addition to that, I think what we could say is this venue here
Yes.
is a place that you can come to get
Start.
clarifications, study, and
Yes.
get further
Yes.
elucidation into these things.
Absolutely.
So that would be a place,
Absolutely.
a pure place,
Mhm.
let's say.
Yeah. That's fine. That's fine. Yeah. So as I just.
I think that if you're then looking at something like that,
Mhm.
and I was talking to Kudra about this too, that in this process for me, if I had to, let's say, go and do a slave or work on Sunday,
Mhm.
part of the process that has happened to me in the last 3 or 4 years is trying to, if I wasn't here, I might be at church, let's say, learning some nonsense. But
Mhm.
I've had to, and that's why the European designed it like that, so that you could take that day, and if you do the knowledge into the certain days and what Sunday represents and all those kind of things, that Sunday is that special day. That's why they have you up in there,
Mhm.
giving your energy to Him. So really, to me, I'm going to take my Sunday, that beginning of the week, that sun day, that learning day, that light day, to come here to learn the light.
Absolutely.
So that's where I would then say, okay, as I said, 20, 35 years ago, I was going with my mother to a Christian Science church
Yes.
to be indoctrinated.
Yes.
And now I'm here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So part of that is also taking the commitment to understand that a lot of the times you may not have the energy to go through those things. A lot of times you can get that stuff and not understand the
Sure.
connections. But that's why coming here is the glue to all of that.
Yes.
You have all
That's
these-
that's a
all
good
these-
addition to what we're talking about.
All
as well,
those
too.
different
Absolutely.
facts can then come under the heading and which is nationality and sovereignty.
Yes.
In conjunction with what we're going through here, because the reason why we're here is because we have been colonized.
Absolutely.
I don't know if you guys saw just another thing, news thing again, they were talking about those Canadians who got shot.
You're cutting
in
into my
Africa.
2 minutes, by the way.
That's okay, you can do They were talking about the 5 Canadians that were shot in that African country.
Yeah.
And they were talking about how the French went there because it was a French colony. And
Yeah.
I thought to myself, wow, at this time now,
Yeah.
I'm starting to hear and see the things. A
Yeah.
French colony,
Yeah.
So what
It's
you're
theirs.
saying-
Africa.
Africa,
It's
Africa,
theirs.
a French colony. So
theirs.
what they're telling you is that a different country went to a place and
Colonized.
colonized.
Absolutely.
And that's what's happening here.
Plain
And
as
that's
day.
why we're in the state we're in.
Yeah. Plain as day.
And then what you
Plain as
realize
day.
is the same very people that have the same look at us who, let's say you could consider successful, the Michael Jacksons, the Michael whoever, they're not here. That's part of the process is because they have sold out to that. But most of us that are here are suffering some form of that, colonization.
Absolutely.
So-
Yeah. So no, I said I just wanted to put that on the record. I mean, I could go on forever, but for us to get started in terms of what we need to know, these are the tools we will need to get that started with. And you will find the different breakdowns of what's been happening to the nation over the years once you get into different books.
And I think to connect to maybe where we're studying is, what we're trying to say though, ultimately is all of that is free.
Yeah.
Those books may cost you in some form or another,
Yes.
those maps,
Yes.
but ultimately the process and the result of that process is free.
Yeah.
And should not cost you.
Mhm.
No one should be putting a price on that anywhere to that.
Exactly.
So if anyone does say that to you, understand that that should be the alarm bell.
Yeah.
To let you know that something's
Something's
wrong.
up.
Something's up. Yeah.
This is free. Your
Yeah.
nationality is free.
Yeah.
We're not here for that.
Yeah.
Anything that pertains to that has to do with us dealing with the colonizer, the people who are doing the right thing have given that to you.
Yeah.
There's no cost for that.
Except
Except your time. Except your time.
That's really the only cost. Time.
The sister, she could come here. She could ask.
Oh no, she well,
Well, but a
she
lot
does
of-
come here. She has come here. I said I don't want to put any names out. I was going to, but I said no because
I think the,
it's like we're all in this together. At the end of the day, we're all in this together in terms of I helping you, you helping me. Because there's gonna be things you're gonna find out that I don't know. Like straight up. That's why, as I said, I can't look for all and every word, but I will try. Like I will damn try. But it's all of us in this together, helping each other. You find something out, boom, send it out. Listen, I just found this out. It's like remember the Center for Disease Control.
Yeah.
Your numbers, like that blew my mind that we have a number. Sorry?
it's a number for our nationality, right?
Well, yeah. Everybody on the planet has a number. So every time you hear, for instance, the Center for Disease Control talking about, oh, this happened over here, this happened over there, well, they're flipping classifying people and who they're gonna poison next. That's all they're doing. But anyway, I digress.
But I think also,
go ahead.
saying, putting out positive stuff, I think it's also important to put out the negative stuff too in that dynamic, right?
Right.
If you have been injured in a certain way,
It's gonna be out there.
then
Anyway,
you should.
that's it. Islam. Okay.
Yeah, so like we said, we're here every Sunday, 1 p.m. And as well, on top of these, also add rdbaypublications.com so as your reference point with regard to getting the correct information as far as this perspective that we're learning, because there's a lot of people out there who are putting out the wrong information to keep the people not getting in the right
Or trying to,
in the right place. It's locked-
we're trying
locked
to get
itself in.
finance, we're trying to get finance.
Yeah,
from people.
yeah. Because again, they realize that this thing's taking off, and people are starting to get involved with this. But if they can get the people to think that it's not theirs, but if you give me 5,000, you know what I mean, you can get it's yours then. Don't give up the 5,000. Please don't give up the 5,000. Keep your fiat. Tell those people, get the hell out of here and stick to studying.
I think just one other thing, I think it's important for anyone who's wanting to actively coming to here to get the email, to get on the email list. To get on the email list, because there may be sometimes Sundays where we may be doing lectures somewhere else.
Somewhere else, right.
Or there may be a particular Sunday where, let's say, we're traveling, or something may happen where it might not be happening here, we wouldn't want you coming here and it not happening, though.
Right.
We plan to be here all the time, but
Yeah. So
for you to then maybe accidentally show up on a Sunday where we might be at another venue, word of mouth doesn't always work, so that's why you get yourself on the email list.
Yeah.
And
So
that's
yeah,
not
give me an
happening.
email before
Then
you.
you would check, you'd have an email that said this Sunday's class has been maybe canceled, or it's being at this
Moved
venue,
somewhere else.
or we're doing whatever. And that's
Right.
just for your own consideration.
All right, so with that, we're just gonna close out. For the new people, you can observe or you can get involved. It's up to you. We're gonna face the east, that way. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth. Peace. Freedom. And justice.
And justice.
Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide.
My guide.
And my salvation.
And my salvation.
By night.
By night.
And by day.
And by day.
Through his holy prophet.
Through his holy prophet.
Noble Drew Ali.
Noble Drew Ali.
Ashe. Love. Peace and love to all the Moors online. Yeah, they got extra today.
Thanks.
That's gonna be 5,000.
Yeah,
5,000. He's